Rebuilding the Immortal Cultivation family. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676 Escape. Has the second sister been controlled by you for a long time? The Laurel Demon asked with hatred. That's right. Many years ago, she became a puppet of mine. I just didn't devour her to prevent you from being vigilant. The Ginseng Demon admitted it openly. It didn't think they could escape under such circumstances. Before dying, answering some of their doubts and letting them understand was also a way to repay the affection they had for all these years. Okay. Don't think I can't see that you are stalling for time. I tell you, it's useless. Be devoured by me and become a part of my great path. After saying that, the Ginseng Demon no longer hesitated and immediately operated a secret method to absorb the origin and magic power through the ginseng whiskers in their bodies. At the same time, the ginseng seeds that were given to them for communication before also began to grow roots from their bodies and drill into their flesh and blood. You know, they are originally a great tonic with various extraordinary effects. After devouring them, you can get extra benefits. For example, Zhiyo can make his magic power more pure and rich, Yuanzi can repair his injuries, Yugen can make his soul pure and more solid. If all 5 big monsters can be devoured, the risk of Shengyao achieving the 5th level will be greatly reduced, and it can even be said to be almost zero. At the same time, it can also greatly increase its foundation, allowing it to walk faster and smoother than other monsters at the 5th level. Fulfill its wish of transcending the tribulation and ascending as soon as possible. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Even if I die, I will never let you succeed. The youngest grass monster roared angrily. 3rd sister, 4th brother, 5th sister, get ready, I will break the ban for you, huh? Just you, Shengyao sneered, not believing that his most useless 6th brother could change the current situation. Among the many spiritual plants it cultivated, the 6th one had the worst foundation, just an ordinary 2nd level jade grass. If it had not been born in a secret realm with a large amount of resources and had its protection, it would have been impossible to break through the 4th level. The magical power it awakened was also the wood release, which was more common among monsters of this type. Such a thing actually boasted that it could break the secret method it had spent so much effort to comprehend. It was really funny. Maybe you have never cared about me, and you don't know that after I broke through the 4th level, I awakened another magical power, the soul transfer. After saying that, a green light flew out of its arms, and it instantly changed into another grass monster. What are you doing? If you have something to say, we can discuss it. The face of the ginseng monster changed drastically, and he hurriedly said, I can let you go, and give you my 3rd brother and 5th sister. After refining them, you can also break through the 5th level. During the refining process, not only the laurel monsters were unable to move, but the ginseng monster was also the same. At this time, any giant and cultivator could subdue them all. Unless the ginseng monster is willing to give up. But for this matter, it has been planning for thousands of years, and it is unknown how much thought and energy it has spent during this period. How can it just give up? 3rd brother, you guys get ready to escape. Don't worry about me. I still have ways to save my life. After saying that, it was like being ignited, and the whole person burst into hot, dazzling aura. The huge mana was boiling in its body, and a boom was faintly heard, like a volcanic eruption, and the terrifying impact roared towards the ginseng monster in the front. Facing death, it could only give up refining and hold up the defense. After all, everything it did was to survive. Wanting to live longer and live better, naturally don't want to die just like that. Let's go. Yui grabbed this glimmer of life in exchange for her life with red eyes, and quickly left this place with the 4th and 5th brothers. The violent explosion blew up the cave where they were. After a while, the somewhat embarrassed ginseng monster and the Zhi monster emerged from the ground. The ginseng demon roared madly, Yulu, how dare you ruin my plan? Cut off my path. No matter how far I go, I will tear you into pieces and put your soul into the soul-lighting lamp. You will suffer from the burning of fire day and night and will never fall into reincarnation for eternity. After a moment, he regained his composure. You have ginseng whiskers planted in your body, don't even think about escaping, but when it sensed it, it found that it could not find the ginseng whiskers at all. Its expression suddenly changed, and it kept saying, impossible. This is impossible. How is this possible? What it didn't know was that the three laurel demons were now dozens of miles away from it, and the reason they didn't run far away was to get rid of the ginseng whiskers in their bodies. In the past, they did well, so they were not discovered, but after the ginseng demon cast a spell, all of them emerged. How could they allow something that could threaten their safety at any time to exist in their bodies? Li Zhirui, who was resting in a cave in the Immortal City, suddenly opened his eyes, and instantly summoned Qianling, staring coldly at the creature that suddenly came out of the storage ring in front of him. Demon clan? Filled with the breath of plants and trees, are you one of the 6 big monsters in the secret realm, but its current state is very bad? Yes, my name is Yulu, and I am a demon from the Jade Dew Spirit Grass. Li Zhirui pointed with his hand, and Qianling dropped roots, completely trapping it in it, and then asked, how did you hide in my storage ring? Combined with the previous things, he could figure it out. It must be on his way to the Immortal City that the Jade Dew Grass monster possessed the spirit ship, but the problem is that after it became a monster, it was already a living creature. As everyone knows, it is impossible for living creatures to enter the storage artifact. I just stuck a spiritual seed on your spiritual ship, and took this opportunity to track those monks to you, Yulu said weakly. Something happened later, and I had to use my magical powers to transfer my soul to other spiritual seeds. Because nurturing spiritual seeds would delay cultivation and consume the essence, it has only nurtured 3 spiritual seeds over the years. One was used here with Li Zhirui to get rid of the monk's pursuit, one was used for self-destruction to help the 3 laurel monsters escape, the last one was placed in the secret realm by it as a last resort. Its self-destruction only detonated its physical body, not its soul, so it was able to escape through magical powers. But it was still damaged. For example, using magical powers twice in a row consumed its soul extremely seriously. More importantly, because this spiritual seed was too far away and could not obtain mana from its mana in its body was now about the same as that of a first-level monster. As for the bastard things that the ginseng monster did to them, it didn't want to tell outsiders. Chapter 677 Return. After listening to this, Li Zhirui was too lazy to explore further. He said indifferently, if you are willing to recognize me as your master, I will let you go. If not, then you can leave your life behind. What he valued was not the strength of the Jade Dew Grass monster, but its identity. A 4th-level spiritual plant demon, this is an excellent candidate for a spiritual plant wife. However, since it can suddenly appear in its own nurturing spiritual seed, Li Zhirui did not think of bringing it into the space, and let it serve spiritual objects on Banyan Island. Hearing this, Yulu hesitated to answer. It still had a spiritual seed and would not really die, but in this way, it would return to the cage that it had escaped from with great effort. Moreover, it had used the soul transfer magic twice in a row, which consumed a lot of itself. If it was used again, it would probably fall into deep sleep. Li Zhirui was not in a hurry, and waited quietly for its answer. After all, whether it was a 4th-level spiritual plant husband or a 4th-level demon, it was not worth his trouble. You can plant a mark in my dungeon. Finally, Yulu bowed her head. However, unlike the common master-servant contract, it did not hand over its soul, but handed over the control of its dungeon. The difference between the two is that the dungeon can only control its current body, while the soul is restricted by Li Zhirui no matter how many times it performs the soul transfer magic. Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows when he heard this, thought about it, and nodded in agreement, saying, don't resist. As he said this, a flash of light appeared on his fingertips, and he pointed at Yulu's dungeon, and a spell instantly sank into her body. From then on, as long as he had a thought, he could detonate it and blow up the dungeon of this body. While Li Zhirui was casting the spell, Yulu seemed to relax, but in fact her soul was guarding against him, fearing that he would take the opportunity to control her soul. Don't be so nervous, I'm not someone who goes back on his word. Li Zhirui shook his head, took out a bottle of healing pills, and said, you should heal your wounds first, thank you, but Yulu didn't take it immediately, but put it away, silently absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, slowly healing her injuries. Really cautious, but not very smart. If he wanted to take action, given its current situation, it couldn't even resist and could only surrender. Why use precious pills to plot against it? The next morning, Li Chengsheng and the other 2 knocked on the door. Come in, huh? Dad, why is there suddenly a demon in your room? Li Chengshu asked in surprise. I captured it by accident yesterday, Li Zhirui explained casually, and then said, We are leaving today to return to Wangsan Island. Sure, do you really plan to stay in the central region for training? Yes. The eastern region is still a little barren. My brother spent decades looking for a solar spiritual object. I have to find two. If I stay in the eastern region, I don't know how long it will take, Li Chengshuo said with a firm face. Well, since you have made up your mind, I will not persuade you anymore. They are already so old, and parents should have learned to let go and let them grow up independently. I don't have time to prepare too many spiritual pills, so these are all. Li Zhirui took out a dozen jade bottles and said, if you run out, you can find a way to solve it yourself. This is indeed the truth. He was busy refining the 4th level precious pill during that time. Another reason is that the 3rd level spiritual medicine planted in the space has not yet matured, and there are no raw materials. How to refine it? Okay, Li Chengshuo agreed enthusiastically. Li Zhirui did not ask her about her next plan, and said to Li Chengsheng and Li Xiangxin, let's go, it's time to go back. As for the Jade grass monster beside her, she just put it into the spirit beast bag. Li Chengshuo sent them to the city gate. Looking at the backs of the 3 people, she wanted to speak several times, saying that she would go back together, but for the sake of her own path, she finally did not speak. Return safely, Li Zhirui said with his back to her, and then he sacrificed the spirit ship and left with Li Chengsheng and Li Xiangxin. Dad, since you are worried about Shu'er, why do you let her stay in the central region? Li Chengsheng asked in confusion. It takes 100 temperings to make steel. Without going through some hardships, I am afraid that Shu'er's breakthrough to the nascent soul stage will be the limit. The same is true for you and Xiangxin. Compared to their time, the family now provides them with a good growth environment. The advantage is that it can provide a lot of resources to allow them to grow faster, but the disadvantage is that it will make them lazy and lack of character. Therefore, the more famous and large the sect is, the more it values the training and polishing of disciples and clansmen. The Li family is now in a transitional stage, slowly changing the previous practice of overprotecting the clansmen and letting them be independent. Although you are already in the late Jinden stage, the road to breaking through the Yuanying stage will not be as smooth as it is now. You will have to go out and experience it, Li Zhirui said earnestly. I hope you can make more preparations before that. He also said to Li Xiangxin on the side, Xiangxin, the family has no relevant experience in the exercise as you practice. Many problems need to be solved by yourself, but don't be stubborn. If you encounter something that you can't solve, ask the family for help. Understand? Don't worry, ancestor, I know everything. That's good. The spirit ship returned to silence. The 3 of them didn't say much along the way, unless they occasionally stopped at the edge of the fairy city and entered the city to buy some spiritual objects. There would be some movement on the ship. After Li Zhirui spent all the spiritual stones he brought from the family, he didn't stop again, and flew directly eastward, towards the east region. Compared to the past, the troubles encountered in the Demon Dao territory on the way back were much less. Because it has been nearly a year since the closure of the 10,000 Immortals secret realm, it is not the time to return to the east region in previous years, so the demon cultivators will naturally not lie in wait and ambush. If they encounter some minor troubles occasionally, Li Zhirui will not take action himself, but let Li Chengsheng and Li Xiangxin solve them, and let Zhao Qing hold the line to ensure that no demon cultivators escape and report their news, which can also be regarded as letting him relax. As for the death of the demon cultivator disciples, will it arouse the vigilance of the sect? That is impossible. Low-level demon cultivators are just consumables for the demons, and they will die if they die. Therefore, when crossing the demon realm, it is much faster than when going there. After entering the territory of the immortals, Li Zhirui will fully activate the spirit ship to hurry up and try to return to the 10,000 Immortals Island as soon as possible. But even so, it took them more than half a year. After all, the Li family is located in the corner of the Far East, and they almost have to cross the entire East region to arrive. I'm finally back. After seeing Wangsan Island from afar, Zhao Qing couldn't hold back any longer. He jumped off the spirit ship without hesitation, spread his wings, and ran towards the place he was concerned about at the fastest speed. To be precise, it should be someone there. Chapter 678 Handover. The tribesmen patrolling over Wangsan Island were startled by the green light rushing over, and they blew their whistles in a hurry. The next moment, a spiritual light shot up into the sky, and shouted loudly, "This is the Wangsan Li clan land. No one is allowed to enter, stinky boy." You don't even recognize the ancestor. Zhaoking knew that he was too impulsive, but he would not admit his mistake. He pretended to be angry and questioned him in return. It turned out to be the ancestor Kingpen. The ancestor is too powerful, so the junior misjudged him. The golden elixir was not afraid of Zhaoking's anger, and explained with a smile. Speaking of which, before Zhaoking broke through the 4th level, he had played with some naughty tribesmen in the family. They often played together and had a very close relationship. After the breakthrough, he did not put on any airs and still maintained the previous relationship with them. Okay, I'll go back and rest for a while, and I'll come to play with you when I have time. As he said, he took out an identity jade card and went directly into Banyan Island. Ancestor Kingpeng is back? Ancestor Rui should be behind. Sure enough, after a while, a spiritual ship with a Li family emblem appeared in front of everyone. Junior pays homage to Ancestor Rui. Li Zhirui nodded and said, "Thank you for your hard work. It's not hard, it's what we should do." Compared with Zhaoking, who is approachable and can play with them, Li Zhirui is in awe and fear in the eyes of these clansmen. Especially those clansmen who were taught by him at the beginning. Now seeing Li Zhirui, their hearts and livers can't help trembling. Because his teaching method is very strict, even harsh. But Li Zhirui did this for their own good. After all, whether it is refining elixirs or practicing, there is no room for any mistakes. At the least, the elixir will be destroyed and the furnace will explode, and at the worst, the foundation will be damaged. If it is not strict, there will be many problems. But maybe it is because his teaching method is good, so that it later became popular in the whole family, making the younger generation terrified. As the initiator, Li Zhirui was naturally respected by the clan members, not to mention that he was the oldest and most accomplished member of the Li family. Okay, you guys go back and rest. After saying goodbye to the two, Li Zhirui went straight to the family hall and handed over all the spiritual objects that Li Chengsheng and the other two had obtained from the trial, as well as the spiritual objects he had bought in the central region, to the clan leader Li Darren. "Thank you for your hard work, ancestor," Li Darren said weakly, looking up from the documents piled on the long table. Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows. Although the position of clan leader was busy, it was not as busy as his. After a little thought, he found that Li Wenli, who had always been by his side, was missing. Where did Wenli go? That kid went into seclusion a few days ago to break through the golden elixir. Speaking of this, Li Darren was still trying to make a joke, saying, "When he breaks through the golden elixir, I will have nothing to do." The family allows clan members in the late stage of foundation building to exchange Xianqing Dan and Jinzi Dan if their contribution points are insufficient, as long as they return them in the future. For a candidate like Li Wenli, if he is elected as the patriarch in the future, he does not need to repay. It is a kind of reward. After all, sitting in the position of patriarch means giving up the path to a certain extent. As for the clan members who failed to cross the calamity and died directly, how to repay? In this matter, the Li family seems to be particularly humane, that is, write it off. Unlike many other forces, even if you die, the account will be counted on your immediate family members. However, the Li family has extremely high requirements for clan members who overdraw and exchange. From the aspects of mentality, foundation, degree of mana condensation, etc., there will be a comprehensive and careful investigation. It does not mean that anyone who applies will be approved. From this aspect, it is equivalent to conducting a round of review and judgment on them before they exchange spiritual objects, and think how likely it is that he will succeed in breaking through. Only clan members with a comprehensive judgment result of more than 40% will get the elixir. Don't think that 40% is very low. In fact, this success rate is already very good. You know, the probability of ordinary foundation building cultivators breaking through is less than 20%. Speaking of which, Li Zhirui laughed when he heard Li Darren's words. He knew that Li Darren was lazy and had no ambition. He wanted to be like a rich man, eating and drinking every day, having fun, and going out to play whenever he wanted. Moreover, Li Darren came to power for emergency and transition. It was a good thing that he was willing to resign in advance. By the way, I have an unexpected gain this time. As he said, Li Zhirui released the Jade grass monster. Li Darren's eyebrows jumped and said, "Ancestor, this big monster, it is a Jade grass monster, and it is most suitable to be a spiritual plant husband, so I brought it back." Seeing that he was still worried, he comforted him, "Don't worry, its life depends on my thoughts, it won't be in danger. As for it, It already knew what it was going to do next on the road, and also learned some knowledge about spiritual plant husbands. However, Li Zhirui didn't know much about this, so he still had to arrange for it to study in the family for a period of time. This is why he told Li Zhirui that the clan leader needed to apply for a new identity jade card. In this way, it can not only show its identity to other tribesmen, but also facilitate it to run around in various spiritual fields when planting spiritual medicine on the island in the future. After receiving repeated assurances, Li Zhirui nodded and agreed, I will have someone make the identity jade card as soon as possible. The jade bottle contains the blood of Yulu. This is the most critical material for making the identity jade card. Without it, the jade card cannot correspond to the person. If it is lost outside and obtained by outsiders, it cannot be used. Then you are busy, I will not disturb you. After saying that, Li Zhirui took back Yulu and turned to leave. While Li Zhirui entered the family hall, Li Chengsheng first reported his safety to Zhang Fengwu. Why did you come back alone? Was Shu'er, Mom? Shu'er wants to stay in the central region to gain experience, to look for opportunities for breakthroughs, and for spiritual objects for the evolution of spiritual beasts. Zhang Fengwu frowned immediately and said, the central region is such a dangerous place. How can Shu'er be allowed to stay? If she wants to gain experience, can't she go to the eastern region? What does your father think? Li Chengsheng was speechless, especially the last sentence. As a son, how could he dare to comment? After talking for a long time, Zhang Fengwu stopped, looked at his eldest son standing in front of him, and said, you have been tired from traveling during this period. Go back and have a rest first. Li Chengsheng was as if he had been pardoned, and said, then mother, I'll leave first. After that, he fled away. When Li Zhirui came back, he saw Zhang Fengwu with a sullen face. What's the matter? Did Shenzhe make you unhappy? Chapter 679 Abandonment. It's you who made me unhappy, Zhang Fengwu said in a bad tone. You knew that the central region was full of crises. Why did you agree to Shu'er and let her stay to gain experience? What if something happened to her? Can't you hope for something good? Li Zhirui stepped forward and pulled her to sit in the pavilion, patiently explaining, I came back a little late this time because a 4th level secret realm happened to be opened, so I went in to explore it, and when Shu'er came out of the trial, she wanted to gain experience in the central region. At that time, Shenzhe was injured, Xiangxin was too young, and I had to go to the secret realm. If I didn't agree, she might have run away directly. Do you think Shu'er can do this? Zhang Fengwu's face looked better, and she nodded reluctantly. Of course, she knew what kind of character Li Chengshua was. This girl was very brave. Instead of letting her escape secretly, it is better to agree first. Maybe when I come out of the secret realm, she will change her mind. As for the result, it was clear at a glance. By the way, I got a lot of good things in the secret realm this time. As he said that, he took out the spiritual objects such as Liuhu Mushi and Huanghan Bamboo. Of course, there was also Yulu, the grass demon. You have subdued another spiritual beast. Zhang Fengwu's attention was immediately diverted. He frowned and transmitted his voice. Now the 3 demons Hugan are still on the island. Add Da Qing, Xiao Qing and Xiao Kang, there are 6 spiritual beasts. Even if you are an alchemist, there will be a shortage of resources if you support so many spiritual beasts. Right, it is a pity to say that the 3 spiritual beasts Hugan, Humu, and Hujuan have not broken through the shackles of their bloodline and achieved the 4th level. They were willing to worship Li Zhirui as their master in order to find an opportunity to break through. Unfortunately, unlike Xiao Qing and the others, they could not get his full help. Moreover, because they have been in the space and know Li Zhirui's most important secrets, he would not let them go out to find opportunities. If no miracle happened in the end, their final result would be to die of old age on Wangxin Island. Yulu is different. She has already broken through the 4th level, and she is a spirit plant that has transformed into a demon. She doesn't need me to provide too many resources, Li Zhirui explained in a voice transmission. Because Yulu was injured and her aura was weak, if you don't look carefully, it is easy to mistake it for a 3rd level demon beast. Since you don't care, then I have nothing to say. Li Zhirui asked Yulu to find an empty room to stay and recuperate. After her injuries are healed, she will go to take care of several important spiritual fields on Wangxin Island. And the place where it will live in the future will naturally be the Spirit Beast mountain range, and it is impossible for it to live with them. Has Fengpeng broken through the 4th level? Li Zhirui asked casually. In fact, looking at Zhang Fengwu, he knew the result. If Feng Peng had not broken through, or failed to break through, her aura would not have suddenly become so strong. Successful, now playing with Xiaoqing, I don't know where they ran to. Speaking of this, she suddenly thought of another thing, and there was no joy on her face. Sighing, Zhirui, you can go see Daqing later, huh? Li Zhirui didn't understand. What could happen to Daqing? Zhang Fengwu sighed and said, Daqing's Taoist partner Mu Linger, after successfully breaking through the 4th level, found an opportunity to go out, abandoned Daqing, and gave birth to their children prematurely. Originally, because Mu Linger broke through the 4th level and needed to accumulate energy, the young turtles did not get much nourishment. Now they were forced to give birth prematurely, and almost died on the same day. For more than half a year, Daqing has been using her own magic power to barely maintain the lives of the young turtles. Fortunately, Zhang Fengwu was the only one who knew about this. After hearing the whole story, Li Zhirui's face became extremely ugly. At the beginning, he wanted to impose a restriction on Mu Linger's body, but Daqing begged him hard, and he was soft-hearted and gave up. Now it has caused such a result. If he had known it would be like this, he should not have been soft-hearted at the time. All the food, clothing and expenses were from the Li family. In order to let Mu Linger break through the 4th level as soon as possible, Daqing even saved more than half of his own cultivation resources for her to use. This is how she repays Daqing. What an ungrateful person. Now is not the time to be angry. You should go and see Daqing. By the way, don't mention Mu Linger in front of him, so as not to make him sad, Zhang Fengwu reminded. Li Zhirui nodded, stood up and strode away. Alice, thinking of Daqing's current state, Zhang Fengwu couldn't help but sigh. His spirit is extremely bad, his blood is deficient, and his mind is scattered. How can he be a 4th level monster? He is no different from those beggars in the mortal world, and even worse than them. If it weren't for those hungry baby turtles, Daqing's condition might be even worse. And this is the Daqing that Li Zhirui saw when he hurried over. Xiaoqing was also beside him. Obviously, she knew about this from Feng Peng and rushed over to see him. You said that you made yourself look like this for a demon girl? Is it worth it? With your status and strength, what demon girl can you not get? Before being with Feng Peng, Xiaoqing was a playboy. He was so fond of all the flowers that he passed by, but he didn't touch a single leaf. Feng Peng also knew his past, but he didn't think so. After all, in the concept of the demon race, there is no so-called courtesy, righteousness, integrity and shame. Of course, even for the human race, the stronger the strength, the weaker these moral senses will be. But no matter how Xiaoqing persuaded him, Daqing didn't say a word, just focused, looking at the baby turtles with transparent shells with soft eyes. Although Li Zhirui didn't specialize in pathology, as an alchemist, he still had some knowledge of it. It can be seen that the baby turtles are still on the verge of life and death. If they are not careful, they may die. Such a bad state is definitely not just due to insufficient nourishment in the mother's body and forced premature birth. I'm afraid Mu Linger also extracted some vitality and spiritual energy from their bodies when she broke through the tribulation. Under these overlapping conditions, the young turtles are so dangerous. As Daqing, who takes care of them day and night, I'm afraid he has known it for a long time. This may be one of the reasons why he is so painful. The person who has always been gentle beside him for many years is so cruel and murderous to his own children. Alice, Li Zhirui sighed and said, Daqing, I found a wood-type spiritual object with rich vitality during this training. If you refine it, you will definitely break through the 5th grade bloodline and will no longer be bound by the bloodline in the future. Hearing this, Daqing suddenly raised his head, looked at Li Zhirui with fiery eyes, and said, Thank you, Brother Jiu, but I want to use it for these children. Li Zhirui was not surprised by this answer. He knew that Daqing would give such an answer. Chapter 680 Recovery. What? Zhaoqing on the side exclaimed and yelled, Daqing, are you stupid? This is a spiritual object that can allow you to evolve into a 5th grade bloodline. It's not something you can get casually. If you miss this opportunity, you may never have it again in the future. When you broke through the 4th level, you also knew how difficult it was to accumulate mana. Are you planning to be trapped to death at the 4th level? I know, Zhaoqing shouted, you know you're still doing this. If you don't think about yourself, you should think about your 9th brother. He couldn't understand Daqing's approach at all. For them, are offspring and descendants as important as having their own path? Even if the higher the cultivation level, the more difficult it is to have offspring. But who says that there will definitely be no offspring in the future? I will find a way to solve this matter myself, and I will never drag down my ninth brother, Daking said with a firm face. Zhaoqing was so angry when she heard this that she cursed. What the hell are you going to do? If you have the ability, alright, Li Zhirui interrupted Zhaoqing hastily. If he continued, it would be a bit too much. He said, since Daking has made up his mind, let him go. The Liuhuamashi tree was originally for him, humph. You will regret it in the future, Zhaoqing snorted coldly. Seeing that he could not persuade the two fools, he flew away in anger. Li Zhirui shook his head. Zhaoqing didn't know that the strange spiritual plant planted in his space was the Liuhuamashi spiritual tree, but even if he knew, he would probably react in the same way. After all, the spiritual tree looks good, but who can guarantee that it will bloom and bear fruit? This is the Liuhu wood fruit. Li Zhirui took out the sealed jade box and said, you should have a good rest for a few days before helping me refine this spiritual fruit, but the children, don't worry, I will take good care of them. Li Zhirui looked at him and said seriously, in your current situation, if something unexpected happens, it will be too late to regret. Daking was stunned for a moment, and thanked him sincerely. Thank you, brother Jiu. There is no need to say this between you and me. Go and rest. After Daking left, Li Zhirui sighed again. After this disaster, he didn't know whether Daking would be depressed or learn from his mistakes and pay more attention to cultivation. But what is certain is that Mulinger's actions have had a great negative impact on him. Time passed quickly. After 5 days of rest, Daking's spirit and energy recovered by more than half, and he couldn't wait to appear in front of Li Zhirui. Take it, Li Zhirui sighed in his heart. It was really pitiful for the parents in the world. For the sake of his children, Daking even gave up his own future. But he didn't think so much. He removed the seal of the jade box and took out a Liuhuamashi. Instantly, a breath of vitality spread out, and the few young turtles with weak breath became a little stronger. Seeing this scene, Daking's eyes were hot. He immediately used his magic power to slowly refine the Liuhuamashi, and carefully integrated the majestic vitality into the bodies of the young turtles. This is a very delicate job, because the young turtles are weak and cannot bear too much vitality at once. If they are not careful, they will be unable to be replenished, and the situation will be even more critical. The whole process lasted for 9 days. If it weren't for Li Zhirui's help, Daking alone would not have been able to hold on to the end. Fortunately, the ending is good. With the help of Liuhuamashi, the young turtles with extremely poor bodies have been replenished. However, originally both parents were 4th grade green turtles, and their bloodlines should have remained unchanged after they were born, but now, their bloodlines have degenerated. Duckwing didn't care too much about this. He just hoped that they could grow up safely and healthily. Now you can rest assured. Take them back to rest quickly. I'm leaving too. Even the energetic Li Zhirui couldn't hold on any longer. You know, before coming to help, he had just returned from the central region and didn't rest for half a quarter of an hour. Thank you for your hard work during this period, brother Jiu. Duckwing's face was pale, and he promised sincerely, when the children grow up a little, I will go out to find spiritual objects and solve the problem of bloodline. No hurry. Li Zhirui shook his head and didn't respond directly. Duckwing's situation was not suitable for going out alone, because in the territory of the demon clan, the human aura on him would be driven away by other demon clans, and in serious cases, they would even hunt him down. In the territory of the human clan, the cultivators would not treat him equally just because he was a contracted spiritual beast of a cultivator. What awaited him would be countless ambushes and battles. Have a good rest. After saying that, Li Zhirui floated away. Has Daking's problem been solved? After returning to the cave, Zhang Fengwu immediately poured him a bowl of spiritual tea to relieve fatigue. She had visited him several times in the past few days. When she saw Daking holding a 5th-level spiritual object to treat the young turtles, Zhang Fengwu almost stepped forward to snatch the spiritual object away. It was too wasteful. But now that the spiritual objects have been used up, there is no point in talking about it anymore. Instead, it makes her feel painful. Well, it seems to be solved on the surface. As for the problem in Daking's heart, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to get over it. Li Zhirui was a little helpless. When something like this happened, he couldn't help, and he could only rely on Daking to get through it himself. If he got through it, maybe his Tao heart would be greatly improved, which would be of great help to his own Tao path. If he was trapped in it, he might end up like this for the rest of his life. and it would also affect Li Zhirui's practice. Everything is settled, you should go and rest. Li Zhirui was too tired to answer, nodded, and returned to the quiet room to start practicing. After a few days of deep rest, he finally recovered completely. Then he found a time to have a good chat with Daking. The main point was that when he was in the secret realm, he dug up the spiritual tree of Liu Mushi, and it grew very well in the space. Maybe there was a chance to produce a second spiritual fruit, so there was no need to rush out. After all, Daking was only in the early stage of the 4th level now, and it was still a long way from breaking through. He could afford the long growth time of the spiritual fruit. In the following days, the entire Banyan Island became much quieter. Many tribesmen were practicing, and Li Zhirui was also the same. He wanted to break through the late stage of Yuanying as soon as possible. It was not until more than a year later that a sudden thunderbolt broke the quiet atmosphere on the island. Who is going through the tribulation? I don't know, and I haven't heard that anyone finally exchanged for the Jinling pill. The tribesmen talked about it, until they came to the courtyard of the person who was going through the tribulation, and someone remembered that this was Li Wenli's cave. Li Wenli? The next candidate for the tribe leader, carefully cultivated by the tribe leader. If he succeeds, I'm afraid we have to hold a handover ceremony for the tribe leader in advance. Everyone discussed it, but they were very conscious and left the range of the thunderbolt. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681 Retreat. Li Zhirui, who was originally handling affairs in the family hall, hurried over after hearing the news, looking at the figure in the center of the thunder tribulation with both worry and expectation. About an hour or two later, the thunder tribulation dissipated, and a golden elixir ore came from Li Wenli's room. Good, good, good. Li Zhirui was overjoyed to see this, cheered repeatedly, and then hurried away. It seems that there is no dispute about the next clan leader, a clan member in the crowd suddenly said. It's unlikely. The clan leader has only been in office for a few decades. He won't retire so early, right? What's more, there are several candidates, a clan member questioned. The clan member looked at him, shook his head and smiled. Just wait and see. The clan members who pay more attention to family affairs know that Li Zhirui, the clan leader, is just a transition. Once there is a suitable candidate, he will probably give up his position immediately. As for the other candidates, can they break through the golden elixir in the near future? If not, then the position of clan leader is destined to be out of their reach. After all, if you want to be the clan leader now, the first condition is to have a golden elixir cultivation. Sure enough, less than 2 months after Li Wenli consolidated his realm and came out of retreat, Li Zhirui convened a family meeting and proposed to resign from the position of clan leader in front of all the elders. Clan leader, are you too anxious? Those candidates haven't grown up yet, an elder said. He did not accept this proposal. Not only him, several elders spoke up, hoping that Li Zhirui would serve as the clan leader for a longer period of time to give them a chance to grow. Because Li Wenli does not belong to their faction, and is not even close to them. Although the Li family has been trying every means to suppress and contain factions, where there are people, there are rivers and lakes, and this cannot be completely eliminated. So what the Li family can do is to prevent these factions from becoming too powerful and making the family a mess. Li Zhirui glanced at him, sneered in his heart, and said, who said he hasn't grown up yet? Wenli broke through the giant a month ago. The elder choked when he heard this, and said, but it's not fair to other candidates? Li Zhirui curled his lips and cursed in his heart, stupid thing, even if the next clan leader is not Wenli, it can't be the junior in your family. The ancestor will never allow a faction to become big. You know, the final candidate must be reported to Li Zhirui, and only with his consent can it be considered a real successor. Although he has never denied a clan leader before, Li Zhirui is sure that if those candidates are allowed to take office, he will never nod his head. I don't know how embarrassing it will be at that time. And among the candidates, why did he value Li Wenli? It was because his parents were mortals and had no connection with the various factions of the family. Li Zhirui, who had a lot of contact with Li Zhirui, claimed that he understood the old ancestors' thoughts better, so he never formed cliques during his tenure, and was very strict with his descendants, not allowing them to bully others. Although this old ancestor rarely asked about family affairs, It is absolutely impossible to say that he knew very little about it. Many major events were actually seen by him, but they were still within the scope of his tolerance, so he pretended not to know. Tell me, what's unfair? The family provides the same resources to all candidate patriarchs. Why can one Li break through the Jinden? Others can't. Although Li Zhirui is lazy, he has been a patriarch for decades, and he still has some majesty. And when Li has been helping me deal with family affairs all year round. I believe you all know how busy he is, and he has the least time to practice, but in this case, he can break through the Jinden. Why can't others? Everyone was speechless and didn't know what to say for a while. Don't say I don't give them a chance. I will serve as the clan leader for another year. No matter what, after 1 year, I will resign from the position of clan leader and propose the election of a new clan leader. But unexpectedly, Li Zhirui did not continue to insist, but took a step back. The elders were overjoyed when they heard this, and they made up their minds to urge the younger generations to practice hard after returning, and strive to retreat within a year to impact the golden elixir. Whether they can break through or not, it will give them a reason to continue to delay. After the successful breakthrough, with their support, are you still afraid of not being able to become the clan leader? Li Zhirui glanced at them and knew what they were thinking. He sneered in his heart, it depends on whether you can still sit in your current position by then. Why is he so anxious to resign from the position of clan leader? Isn't it just to lure these people out and then clean them up, so that they won't be resentful and join hands to undermine Li Wenli and make the family a mess? They are still here being complacent and dreaming unrealistic fantasies. It won't be long before they will cry. Okay, everyone go and get busy first. The elders got up and left, leaving only Li Zhirui and Li Wenli in the hall. Thank you for all you have done for me, Patriarch. Li Wenli, who was standing aside, saw all of this. How could he, who was carefully trained by Li Zhirui, not see the deep meaning of this? It's not for you, it's for this family. Li Zhirui shook his head and said solemnly, I hope that what I did today can also be done when you hand over the position to the next person, Patriarch. Don't worry. I will do my best to maintain the development trend of the family, suppress various factions, and prevent them from raising their heads. Li Wenli responded solemnly. Now the ancestor is still concentrating on cultivation, and I don't know when he will come out. Before he is recognized by the old man, you can only handle family affairs as the acting clan leader, Li Zhirui pointed out, but this is also good. As long as you can make achievements or find a way to establish prestige, you can better control the family after removing the word acting. When he came to power, he had Li Zhirui's support behind him, so there was no need to make it so complicated. Just follow the rules and don't make mistakes. But Li Wenli is different. First, there are many competitors, and they also represent their own forces. Even if Li Zhirui clears them out of office, it is impossible to drive them out of Banyan Island. These people will definitely try their best to find his faults. Second, Li Zhirui's situation at that time was quite special. Now that the family inheritance has returned to the rules, Li Zhirui can no longer openly support Li Wenli as before. I will seriously consider this matter. In fact, he has a draft in mind, but it is not perfect yet. After all, Li Zhirui told him about the situation of the family a long time ago and has always trained him as the heir. Chapter 682 Prestige. As the saying goes, a new official has 3 things to do when he takes office. Li Wenli certainly thought about how to win the support of the clansmen and quickly establish this prestige. His first step, which is also a crucial step, is to protect the interests of the clansmen who have come out of the mortal world and have not yet joined the various factions. As long as this one thing is accomplished, Li Wenli will be invincible. Because among the thousands of clansmen in the Li family, this part of the clansmen has the largest number, but they do not have much say in the family. After all, you are a cultivator who has just come out of the mortal world. Even if you have worked hard for 2 or 3 generations, how can you compare with the inheritance and accumulation of several generations? The reason why miracles are called miracles is because they are rare and scarce, so they are praised by everyone. After listening to Li Wenli's idea, Li Zhirui frowned and said, there will be great resistance to this matter. The existing factions will not allow new people to enter, and over time, they will also degenerate, thus forming new factions. Since you, the clan leader, can drive them out of office, the evidence in your hands must be more fatal, and then you can naturally promote several non-factional clan members. Li Wenli shook his head and said softly, as for the formation of new factions? This is inevitable. All we can do is to pull one faction to fight another, Alice. You are right, and the fact is indeed so, Li Zhirui sighed and said, you can do it boldly, I will support you behind the scenes. After making up their minds, the two of them acted vigorously against the major factions. As the clan leader, Li Zhirui naturally controls a part of the dark department. The information they collected can even be abolished and expelled from the clan for serious cases. With such a big killer in hand, how dare those people confront it? They can only honestly hand over the power in their hands. Then they selected clan members who were born in the mortal world and let them serve as elders and become the direct descendants of Li Zhirui and Li Wenli. After some larger factions were driven out of the upper echelons, Li Zhirui found a reason to let Li Wenli become the acting clan leader, and he presided over and handled all family affairs. In this way, those new elders who had no foundation could only unite around Li Wenli obediently if they wanted to avoid being driven out of office. As for the whimsical idea of joining other elders, I'm afraid they would be relieved of their duties the next day. After all, Li Wenli did so much, not to make wedding clothes for others. And through this incident, he initially established his prestige, but at the same time, he also offended those major factions. Li Wenli did not stop there, he ignited the second fire. When children become adults or break through the late stage of key training, they cannot live in the same house with their parents and elders, and under his deliberate arrangement, the two sides will be very far away. Previously, the family divided different cultivation levels into different areas on the mountain according to the richness of spiritual energy, and Li Wenli's approach went a step further and split a large family into small families. Perhaps at the beginning, separation would make their relationship better, but over time, they would visit less and their feelings would naturally fade. After several generations, when the ancestors of the older generation passed away, even if they had similar blood ties, they were no different from ordinary clansmen. Many people could see the sinister intentions of this practice, but they could not stop it, because Li Wenli not only had the support of Li Zhirui, but also the support of several elders. The last fire, Li Wenli put on inheritance. All clansmen who broke through the middle stage of key training can learn the basic knowledge of all the family's cultivation skills, such as alchemy, refining, and formations, for free. Before this, clansmen could only choose 3 to learn. If they did not have any talent in the 3 selected, they could only exchange them with contribution points. But you have to know that the Li family has developed to the present, and there are dozens of cultivation skills in the family's sutra library. The probability of choosing 3 skills that suit you is not high. Although the price of each basic method is not high, it is not easy for a clan member in the middle stage of key training to take it out. After all, they need to ensure their own practice. The clan members with faction support can borrow contribution points from the inside to exchange for methods and continue to learn, and they also have the guidance and teaching of the elders. Those without factions can only give up temporarily and learn again when the contribution points are sufficient. Li Wenli's 3 fires burned down and quickly established his prestige in the family. What a good method, an elder sighed. Yes, the new clan leader solved those factions with one move. When he officially takes office, these factions may have a harder time, but for people like us, it's a good thing. For example, some of the rights they lost in their hands can be returned. From now on, those clan members without backers will have a much better life than we did at that time. As he spoke, a trace of resentment flashed in his eyes. As for whether Li Wenli will be caught, I'm afraid it's impossible. Because he has neither a Taoist partner nor any offspring, and even the news about his parents and relatives in the mortal world has long been erased. He is also a rather eccentric person and has no good friends among the clan members. His life is also extremely monotonous. Except for going out to deal with family affairs, he stays in his cave the rest of the time. The wall stands thousands of feet high, and he is strong without desire. This is the most suitable description of him. Will those factions do something secretly? If they really dare to do so, Li Zhirui will never let them go. When Li's heir comes out of retreat, the end will be even more miserable. The person in charge may be directly abolished and expelled from the family. It has been several years, and I don't know when the ancestor will come out of retreat. By then, I can really get rid of this bondage, Li Zhirui said with a frown. Now Li Wenli is only the acting clan leader, and many things still need him to come forward. Even if he doesn't need to deal with these things, Li Zhirui still feels irritated. At this time, Li Zhirui, who was being thought of by others, was at a critical moment of breakthrough. He clearly felt that everything was just right, but he just couldn't break through. which made him feel a lot more irritable. Fortunately, Li Zhirui had never given up practicing the visualization method of the divine turtle's yin-hei, and soon solved the problem of his state of mind, calmed down, and once again launched an attack on the late nascent soul stage. He was like Yu Gong at the foot of Taihang Mountain, working tirelessly and digging the towering mountain in front of him. I don't know how long it took, maybe a day, or maybe a year. Suddenly, Li Zhirui heard a roar of rocks rolling down. It turned out that the towering mountain in front of him collapsed. Chapter 683 Excitement. The Yuanying sitting cross-legged in the dungeon suddenly burst out with a powerful force of swallowing, madly absorbing spiritual energy from the outside world. The movement was so great that it formed a huge spiritual energy vortex in the outside world. Even in the bright daytime, as long as you look up, no matter where you are in Banyan Island, you can clearly see the dazzling blue and green colors. This is, Li Zhirui hurriedly ran out of the hall and said excitedly, the ancestor has broken through. He was happy about this matter, and also because he would soon have a good day of ease. The other clansmen were naturally very happy about this. After all, the stronger Li Zhirui's strength, the better the family will be, and it will be more helpful to their practice. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Zhang Fengwu, who was in the same courtyard, couldn't help but sigh while feeling a little bitter. Obviously, at the beginning, the two people's cultivation was the same, but as time went by, she could no longer keep up with his pace and could only watch Li Zhirui's back from a distance. Maybe one day he will break through to the god of transformation, while she is still in the early and middle stages of the Yuanying. No. This can't go on. Zhang Fengwu planned to close the door for a while. He would not come out until he broke through the middle stage of the nascent soul. The late stage of the nascent soul. I finally broke through. The spiritual energy vortex lasted for a whole hour. The influx of a large amount of spiritual energy made Li Zhirui feel full of strength. But to be honest, there is not much difference between the late stage and the middle stage of the nascent soul. It's just that more mana can be accumulated in the Danshan, and the yangization of the soul is further advanced. In the last small realm of breaking through the transformation of the spirit, what Li Zhirui has to do is to refine the mana and have enough strength to deal with the thunder tribulation, so as not to fall in the thunder tribulation. Yangization of the soul is a crucial point, because without this prerequisite, he can't break through. But now, he is not so anxious. After all, he has just broken through. Li Zhirui spent a month or two to completely consolidate his realm, and then ended this year's long retreat. Then he saw several communication talismans posted on the door, and he glanced over and found that they were all sent by Li Zhirui. But it shouldn't be an important matter, otherwise it wouldn't be sent to him who hasn't come out of retreat yet. He activated one at random, and the content was very simple. Except for the initial greeting, the long speech afterwards was all nonsense. The key point was only one sentence: when will he come out of retreat? Although the content of other communication talismans changed, the general meaning was no different. Wrong, this kid is so eager for me to come out of retreat. What on earth does he want to see me for? Seeing that Zhang Fengwu is not at home, Li Zhirui left a simple letter to explain his whereabouts and went to the family hall. Ancestor, are you out of retreat? Li Zhirui's tone and expression were full of excitement. Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a smile, you have sent several communication talismans in succession, but is there anything you want to tell me? Yes, a few years ago, when Li successfully broke through the golden elixir. And I planned to resign from the position of clan leader and let him take over, but you were still in seclusion at that time, so he has always been the title of acting clan leader. Li Zhirui's chubby face was full of smiles, and he said, although he did a good job, it is still a bit unjustifiable. So when I saw you successfully break through, I was thinking about when I could get rid of the word acting. I think you are impatient with being the chief and want to get rid of it as soon as possible. Li Zhirui shook his head, not blaming him. After all, it was he who took Li Zhirui to the position. However, he did not immediately agree to let Li Wenli take the position. He had to investigate and understand the situation clearly. You have nothing to do here, I will go back first. Li Zhirui opened his mouth and wanted to ask him what he thought about this matter, but thinking of Li Zhirui's character, he finally couldn't ask. After leaving the family hall, he went to Daking's cave. Brother Jiu, are you out of retreat? Daking, who was watching the children playing, immediately stood up to greet the visitor. Li Zhirui nodded, looked at the lively little green turtles, and asked, how are they? Are they okay? Thanks to the liuhu mushi you brought back, Brother Jiu, these kids survived. But have you been a little slack in your cultivation over the years? With his eyesight, how could he not see that Deking's magic power had not improved much in the past few years? Deking was speechless, not knowing how to answer. Since they are fine now, you should learn to let go and stop worrying about them, Li Zhirui said earnestly. Don't neglect your own cultivation, brother Jiu. I know, but I just can't let it go. But they are now healthy and don't need your constant attention. Besides, other spirit beasts don't dare to approach your cave. They can't be in danger. The family can arrange someone to take care of them. Li Zhirui shook his head and stopped persuading him. Think about it yourself. Then he went to find Zhao King again, but he was not on the cave, so he had to give up and go home. When he pushed open the gate, he saw Jiang Fengwu sitting there, obviously waiting for him to come back. A warm current suddenly surged in his heart. Zhirui, I planned to close the death gate once. Li Zhirui was stunned when he heard this. He didn't quite understand why Jiang Fengwu had such an idea. Her current cultivation speed was not slow. According to the current progress, if nothing unexpected happened, she would be able to make further progress in about 10 years. Why do you suddenly have such an idea? It's all because of you. Jiang Fengwu rolled his eyes at him and said, being with you is too stressful. Li Zhirui didn't know what to say. Could he persuade her not to have such great pressure? They are different. After all, he has a cheat, and she doesn't. Then when do you plan to go into seclusion? Jiang Fengwu calculated the time and said, it will be in these few days. I don't know when I can come out of seclusion. In order not to delay the development of the formation hall, I want to hand over everything before the seclusion. Okay, I will try to refine more 4th level treasure pills. Thank you for your hard work. It would be too distant for the two of them to say thank you. You went to see Darren today, but he said he wanted to resign. Jiang Fengwu praised the young man named Li Wenli is quick-witted, cunning, and resourceful. He is a very good successor. Oh, after hearing what she said, Li Zhirui felt a little interested in this junior who had met him a few times. He knew that Jiang Fengwu usually wouldn't discuss family affairs outside the formation hall, but now even she agreed. It seemed that Li Wenli was really extraordinary. Chapter 684 Recognition. Go find out for yourself. Jiang Fengwu said this casually, as if deliberately whetting Li Zhirui's appetite, and then stopped talking. Li Zhirui shook his head with a smile. Then I'll go and ask around tomorrow. The moonlight is just right tonight, so let's not talk about anything else. For a while, the room was full of love and the bed creaked. The next morning, the two of them were busy again. Li Zhirui did not ask the clan members, but checked the records and looked at Li Wenli's measures from a more objective perspective, and then went to investigate to see how effective those measures were. Interesting, I didn't expect him to start from this aspect. After reading the relevant records, Li Zhirui felt his eyes light up. His means of dividing factions were indeed good. The most important thing is that his means did not harm the interests of the family, but were more conducive to the development of the family. Especially at the end, the basic knowledge of various cultivation skills was opened up, giving the clan members more choices. Not to mention how well they can be trained, but even if they are just a first-level technician, they can earn some resources for themselves, and the family can also get some spirit stones from it. It can be said to be a win-win situation. When Li Zhirui went to investigate, he found that Li Wenli had made several more steps on this basis. First, Li Wenli organized a group of experienced craftsmen to impart experience to all the clansmen and guide them to learn. Secondly, he arranged a lot of manpower to collect the advantages of each family craftsman and extract the same or similar points from them to provide some convenience for the clansmen who were learning skills. Then let them make purposeful choices, no longer relying on luck, so that they can save a lot of time. Of course, some clansmen were dissatisfied with Li Wenli's various measures. After all, he cut all the factions with his knives, so how could they sit and wait for death? We must get rid of that kid. Otherwise, where will we have a place to stay? A square-faced strong man said angrily. Yes, if this goes on, our lineage will fall apart. What a group of shallow-eyed things. It's only been a short time, and you actually surrendered to that shitty-acting clan leader. Among the factions, there are those who have had a very good life, and naturally there are also those who have not had a good life. Li Wenli split up the big family and moved everyone out, and the latter became the target of his wooing. This also made his prestige in the family rise to a higher level, and he got the support of nearly 70% of the clan members. This is not just a matter for our family. Aren't the other families afraid? We can't drive people down by ourselves, but are they willing? After all, in order to fight for power and profit, each family has done a lot of dirty work on each other, and the relationship is not very good. The previous conflicts are not worth mentioning in the face of life and death. Everyone fell into silence. But how can we do it? With the support of the clan leader and his current prestige, ordinary things can't bring him down at all. An old man with a bit of impatience between his eyebrows said, "The ancestor successfully broke through a month or two ago, and I'm afraid he will come out of retreat soon. If he sees Li Wenli's achievements, we will just have to wait for death." Li Zhirui is not on the same level as them in terms of status, position, or strength. Once he opens his mouth, the dust will be completely settled and the final conclusion will be made. But what they don't know is that Li Zhirui has already come out of retreat. And he learned about Li Wenli's measures in detail. Judging from his expression, he should be satisfied. So their calculations were doomed to be in vain. So, on the second day, Li Zhirui received a document with Li Zhirui's seal, which praised Li Wenli and highly affirmed his measures. He believed that he would be a good patriarch who could lead the family to continue to prosper. Ho ha ha ha. I'm finally free. Li Zhirui laughed loudly, his voice full of relief. God knows how much effort he has put in to sit in this position. After he calmed down, he couldn't wait to hold a family meeting. Except for the elders who were training outside or on seclusion, all were present. Now officially tell you, I will resign from the position of patriarch immediately. As soon as everyone arrived, Li Zhirui dropped a bomb, which made everyone dizzy and confused. The new clan leader will be the acting clan leader Li Wenli. After saying that, Li Zhirui motioned Li Wenli to come on stage and handed him the jade book, small seal and other things that symbolized the clan leader. Clan leader. Wait a minute, suddenly, someone jumped out to stop him and asked, the ancestor hasn't come out of retreat yet. It's probably not appropriate without his recognition. Who said the ancestor hasn't come out of retreat yet? Li Zhirui looked at them with a teasing look. Then he took out a document and said, take a good look at what this is. As soon as the document came out, the people who were originally sharpening their knives suddenly stopped and became listless. They have already lost. Any other opinions? Yes. Of course. For example, among the other candidates, 2 have already broken through the golden elixir and meet the conditions for competition. But can you say it? In front of Li Wenli, who has an extremely huge advantage, it would be humiliating to say it out. Some old people have realized that the weakening of various factions is inevitable and irreversible. Because behind this matter, Li Zhirui is supporting it. A few days later, Li Zhirui and Li Wenli completed the handover ceremony in front of all the clan members. Li Zhirui showed up as usual and left, because he knew that if he was there, the others would not be able to relax, so he decided not to disturb their interest. But before leaving, he said to Li Wenli, the various factions are also members of the Li clan, not enemies. Li Wenli, who originally planned to further suppress the factions, was a little hesitant after hearing this. But after careful consideration, he decided to do it. But the means were a little gentler. Li Zhirui did not try to understand the follow-up situation. He believed that Li Wenli was a smart man and could understand what he meant. He is now refining as many treasure pills as possible to avoid a situation of lack of treasure pills when Zhang Fengwu is in seclusion. That's enough. These treasure pills can already satisfy my practice. Zhang Fengwu saw that Li Zhirui was going to continue, and hurriedly spoke out to stop him. Have you handed over the affairs of the formation hall? Zhang Fengwu nodded, and suddenly mentioned Li Chengshu. It's been several years. And I haven't seen Shu'er come back. I wonder how she is doing now. Don't worry. With Shu'er's intelligence and talent, how could she suffer any loss? Li Zhirui said with a smile, hoping to ease her worries. Chapter 685 Planning. Watching Zhang Fengwu walk into the quiet room, she began a retreat that would take who knows how long. Li Zhirui thought of what she said and couldn't help but worry about Li Chengshu. I wonder what this girl is doing. However, the distance was too far, and there was no way to contact her. He could only know whether she was still alive through the life card, and there was no way to know more. Whenever this happened, Li Zhirui missed the network in his previous life from the bottom of his heart. No matter how far apart they were, they could always get in touch. As for building a cultivation version of the network, he didn't even know the principle, so what could he do? The most important thing was that the Li family couldn't keep such an important thing. At that time, the best outcome would be to offer the thing. If it was targeted by some powerful and overbearing forces, it would be hard to say whether the Li family could exist. Shaking his head, he cleared these unreliable thoughts and began to plan for the next few decades or even hundreds of years. Although he is now in the late stage of the nascent soul, he is only one step away from the god of transformation, but this is a step close at hand. If you want to cross it, it will not be done in 3 or 5 years. In Li Zhirui's plan, daily practice, polishing of mana, and yang transforming souls took up the absolute majority. The remaining time would be used to refine pills, ponder pill recipes, or teach clansmen, which could be considered a combination of work and rest. He planned to spend 50 years to polish his realm to perfection, to the point where he could not improve any further. At that time, he would consider breaking through the bottleneck and crossing the divine thunder tribulation. Anyway, he had enough lifespan, so there was no need to fight for those few years or more than 10 years. Everything should be done in a safe way. It was most important to do everything possible to increase the probability of success in crossing the tribulation. At the same time, he had to take the enemy by surprise to avoid being known by other forces, especially the Great Snow Mountain Demon Clan and the Xuanbing sect. As for other nascent soul forces, either the Fire Demon Clan and the Qingxuan sect were too far away, or the Wu Aishan and Shuling sect were not strong enough to pose a threat. Fortunately, compared to the Xuanbing sect at the time, the Li family had a great advantage, that is, they settled on an island, and the Wangxin Island did not allow cultivators from other forces to enter, and was very closed. Even if other forces arranged spies and undercovers to collect intelligence, they can only do so on the small islands on the east and west sides of Wangxin Island. When the time comes, the formation will be activated to isolate the entry and exit, and they will not be able to spread the news. Of course, Wangxin Island is only 200 miles away from the mainland. With a huge scale of the god-transforming thunder tribulation, it can be seen even on land. So want to completely intercept the news? That is impossible. At most it can be delayed for half an hour. This time is the total time it takes for the thunder tribulation to gather, brew, and strike the thunder tribulation. In other words, when those spies found out, Li Zhirui was already going through the tribulation. The transmission of the news, the reactions and responses of all parties, the rush in the middle, etc., all take a lot of time. If it is slower, maybe when they arrive, the thunder tribulation has ended. At that time, they will have to consider how to leave safely. So as long as everything is done properly, Li Zhirui is not very worried that he will be sabotaged from the outside when he's going through the tribulation. If there is no interference from the outside, then there are only internal factors, so he will try his best to improve himself. Speaking of which, during this period, Li Zhirui hoped that Deking and Zhaoqing could make further progress, and Xiaoqian could break through the 4th level, so as not to fall behind too much. Xiaoqian didn't need him to worry about him. He had been practicing hard in the space. With the support of a large amount of resources, he was now in the late 3rd level. He was accumulating and consolidating his foundation, and he could break through the 4th level within 100 years. Zhaoqing had been playing with Fengpeng in the past few years, and from time to time he went to the distant sea to catch 4th level sea monsters, which could be regarded as a kind of practice. Those sea monsters contained a lot of spiritual energy. One was no worse than a bottle of 4th level treasure pills. Moreover, the flesh and blood contained rich nutrients, which was more suitable for Zhaoqing from a certain perspective. You know, the monsters in the wild don't have so many spiritual objects and elixirs. If they want to improve their cultivation, in addition to practicing hard, they can hunt other monsters and eat their flesh and blood. However, this matter is more dangerous. The sea tribe can't let Zhaoqing catch 4th level sea monsters so unscrupulously. After all, even among the huge number of sea creatures, the 4th level is already the backbone, no longer a consumable. Li Zhirui warned Zhaoqing twice, asking him to be more careful and not fall into the trap of the sea monster, and then he left him alone. The remaining Deking is the one he needs to worry about the most. Mu Linger's actions have caused a huge negative impact on Deking, and to this day, he has not recovered. Moreover, this kind of mental trauma cannot be repaired by Li Zhirui's words. He is also afraid that saying too much will make Deking worse. The degree of this is really difficult to grasp, and it gives him a headache. Fortunately, with the healthy growth of those little green turtles, Deking's condition is getting better and better, and it may not take long to heal. At that time, it depends on whether there will be a situation of breaking and then building. If so, Deking may be able to go further directly. Alice, thinking of this, Li Zhirui couldn't help but sigh. Even a cultivator can't get rid of trivial matters. Perhaps only the legendary immortals can be truly quiet, in the distant central region. Miss Jin, what have you done? You are a female cultivator after all, please pay attention to your image. A tall and pretty female giant cultivator looked at the ragged, disheveled hair, and faintly smelly female cultivator in front of her, and the disgust on her face was beyond words. Li Chengshu, who used the alias Jin Ziuli, smiled and said, weren't you injured some time ago? I couldn't stay alone, so I went to the Qianshan Mountains to hunt monsters. As a result, I accidentally encountered a beast tide. I hid from everywhere and finally escaped back. You are really lucky. You actually survived the beast tide. Li Zhirui heard the words and said with some surprise. Lucky, I found a hidden cave, so I escaped. Thinking back now, Li Chengshu is still scared. You know, in front of tens of thousands of beasts, even if she activated Li Zhirui's soul-distributing jade slip, she might not be able to survive. Then you should go back and rest. When you recover, we will find someone to team up with. Both of them are in the middle stage of the golden core, which is not enough in the Qianshan Mountains full of monsters. If they are not careful, they may die. For the sake of safety, they can only act with other cultivators. Speaking of which, the two of them are really predestined. They both left their teachers and looked for opportunities alone in order to break through the late stage of the golden core. Then, they gradually became familiar with each other in the team again and again, and then they became fixed teammates. Chapter 686, Making Money. Of course, the relationship between the two was just like that. It was impossible to say how much trust they had. When they encountered dangerous situations, they would also devote part of their minds to guard against each other. Then I will come to you when the time comes. Before leaving, Li Chengshu said again, if it takes a long time, you can act on your own, I know. Do you think I will wait for you? Li Zhirui was very direct. This is also the reason why Li Chengshu is willing to associate with her. As for whether it is her nature or a disguise, who cares about these? It was originally a temporary partner. After separating from Li Zhirui, Li Chengshu returned to the cave he rented. After activating the formation, he couldn't wait to call out the moon snake. Ayu, take a look at this spiritual fruit. Can it make your blood evolve? In the 3-inch jade box, there was a crystal clear spiritual fruit shaped like a full moon. Once it was taken out, it exuded a strong Taiyin aura. This full moon spiritual fruit was the opportunity she got in the Qianshan Mountains this time. Li Chengshu did not lie to Li Zhirui. She did encounter a beast tide, but she did not say that the beast tide was caused by her. Perhaps it was a mysterious induction. She suddenly had an idea to go to Qianshan Mountain alone, and soon found the full moon spiritual fruit. At that time, Li Chengshu was very excited. After solving the guardian spirit beast, he planned to leave. But who would have thought that this spiritual plant had long been favored by a 4th-level big demon, but because it grew outside the mountains and was far away from its territory, it was impossible for it to guard it personally, so it arranged a confidant. The 3rd-level demon beast, plus the big demon aura it left behind, was enough to protect this spiritual plant. But who would have thought that it would be discovered by Li Chengshu accidentally? As a human cultivator, she naturally could not feel the aura of the big demon, and even if she noticed it, she would not give up. After all, Taiyin spiritual objects are really hard to find. If you miss this one, you don't know how long you will have to wait for the 2nd spiritual object. When the 4th-ranked demon found out that his confidant was dead, he knew that the spiritual object he had set his eyes on had been taken away. So, he immediately launched a beast tide, first surrounded the area near the crime scene, and then investigated it bit by bit. It was also Li Chengshu's fate that he was not destined to die. During the escape, he actually found a mountain stream leading to the outside world. Although the process was a bit bumpy, fortunately he got out safely. Of course, this full moon spiritual fruit is a great tonic for Taiyin spiritual beasts. Yush was very excited. She had seen the dawn of her evolution. When she breaks through the 4th grade bloodline, she will be a Taiyin spiritual python, not a moon snake. If she can go further, she will be transformed from a python into a dragon, and the 6th grade will be a mixed blood dragon clan, and then she will evolve and refine her bloodline step by step until she becomes a Taiyin dragon at the 9th grade. What about Xiaoyu? When Yush calmed down, she thought of her partner, and now the spiritual object has not been found. Li Chengshu said confidently, don't worry, since you can get the full moon spiritual fruit. You can naturally get the 2nd Taiyin spiritual object, But seriously speaking, there is not much connection between the two. Moonsnake did not mention it again. After all, any sentient being is selfish, so those who are selfless and selfless are worthy of praise and admiration. You swallow the spiritual fruit, and then stay in the cave to practice. It's not that the space in the spirit beast bag is not big enough, but there is not enough spiritual energy. And she spent so many spiritual stones to rent this cave. If she doesn't live in it, wouldn't it be a big loss? Wait until I get another Taiyan spiritual object. I will also break through the late Jinden, and then set off to return to the family. Li Chengshuo set a goal for himself and strive to complete it within 5 years. I don't know where Ning Chen is now. After so many years, does he still remember me? Thinking of this, Li Chengshuo couldn't help but have some girlish feelings in her heart, looking forward to it, but afraid of being hurt. Fortunately, she is not the kind of person who is obsessed with love, and quickly threw away the complicated thoughts and began to concentrate on recovery. Time is always ruthless, and several years have passed in the blink of an eye. Li Chengshuo still hasn't come back, Zhang Fengwu is still in seclusion, Li's heir's improvement is steady, and the development of the Li family is still maintained at a good level, with 1 or 2 golden elixirs born every year. Li Wenli, the patriarch, is indeed good. Under his leadership, the Li family has dug deep into their inner strength and continuously consolidated their foundation. Now it seems that there is not much change, but you know that when the time comes, it will erupt like a volcano. Thanks to his original measures, a large number of first-level craftsmen were born in the Li family. Spirit pills, talismans, magic tools, etc. flooded the entire market, earning a lot of spiritual stones for the family. In other words, the Li family's territory is large enough, and they are good to the vassal forces. Not only will they not suppress them, but they will also encourage these small forces to cultivate more cultivators. In addition, the scattered cultivators attracted from all directions have formed a huge market. Although the quality of these spiritual objects is average, the price is cheap enough, which is of great attraction to those small forces and scattered cultivators. Don't they want to buy high-quality spiritual objects? But there is no way. They are poor, have no spiritual stones, and can't afford those high-end goods. In addition to these low-end spiritual objects, the Li family also has medium and high-end ones. The main goal is to develop all lines of business and take everything from top to bottom. For example, they first use low-end elixirs to attract monks, and then launch better elixirs when they develop drug resistance. But other chambers of commerce also have them. After all, these medium and high-end elixirs are not as profitable as low-end elixirs. Why do monks choose to refine the Li family? Speaking of this, I have to praise Li Wenli for being a real talent. He actually thought of business means such as consumption points and membership system. The membership system is not new. Many chambers of commerce have it, but consumption points are the first to appear in this world. Those monks buy low-end elixirs because they are cheap, and every time they consume, they will accumulate a point. When they buy medium and high-end elixirs, these points can play a role when they check out. They will directly offset a part of the spiritual stones. In this way, nearly 80% of the monk's consumption is directly taken away. Will this cause trouble? Of course it will. The Li family's actions are no different from monopolizing the market, causing the profits of various chambers of commerce to plummet and complain. Those small chambers of commerce were not powerful enough to dare to speak out, but the top chambers of commerce like the Nanya Chamber of Commerce were not afraid of the Li family and came directly to their door. Isn't your family too domineering? How can we, the chambers of commerce, survive if you do this? Li Wenli said enthusiastically. Dao are joking. With the strength of your chamber of commerce, how can such a small trick defeat you? The Li family still needs the Nanya Chamber of Commerce in many aspects, so it is impossible to offend them. It can't be destroyed, it's just half dead. The man was still dissatisfied. Chapter 687 Ambush. Dao are worrying too much? Li only shook his head. Seeing that the man still looked dissatisfied, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. He said softly, I think Dao can roughly guess how many spiritual stones my Li family can earn every day. From this, you can see how profitable this monopoly business is. The cultivator nodded involuntarily, and then said impatiently, but you are making a lot of spiritual stones, and it has nothing to do with us. These cultivators who are mixed in the Chamber of Commerce are different from the cultivators in the sects and families. They want to improve their status internally. Their own strength is not the first factor, but the ability to make money is. Of course, If it is an ancestor of the god of transformation, then this set of rules will naturally have no effect on him. In the face of absolute strength, the so-called rules can be broken. And if the Li family continues to do this, it can be foreseen how low their income will be this year. At that time, I am afraid that all the people in the Chamber of Commerce working in the Li family's territory will all get a lowest evaluation, like the lowest. Who said it doesn't matter? It was not until now that Li Wenli revealed his true purpose. Your Chamber of Commerce has helped the family a lot over the years. We are not the kind of ungrateful people, so we want to invite your Chamber of Commerce to join us and monopolize the market together, but the Chamber of Commerce doesn't have so many cheap spiritual objects, it's impossible not to be tempted. During this period of time, who doesn't know that the spiritual stones have flowed to the Li family from all directions? There are even casual cultivators from neighboring states. The Li family's territory is originally a huge market. The Li family's move has actually added tens of thousands of consumers. If they can get a share of it, their evaluation will definitely be very good. Don't worry, fellow Taoist. Even if my Li family earns less, we can't treat our friends unfairly, Li Wenli promised solemnly. As long as your Chamber of Commerce is willing, I can give up 40%, no, 50% of the low-end spiritual objects to the Chamber of Commerce. Are you serious, fellow Taoist? The cultivator's eyes lit up, and he was overwhelmed by the huge benefits. He didn't even have the energy to think about why the Li family was willing to give up such a huge profit. He just wanted to make this happen as soon as possible. Once a word is spoken, it can't be taken back. After a pause, Li Wenli added, since it is a joint monopoly, you and I must keep the same price. If we fall into the trap of competing to lower prices, it will be extremely disadvantageous to both you and me, of course. We can't do such a thing that harms others and ourselves. The man patted his chest and promised. Okay. My Li family can sell low-end spiritual objects to your Chamber of Commerce at 85% of the current market price. What do you think, fellow Taoist? As the head of the Li family's land boundary branch, he has a decisive role in this matter. As long as he is dealt with, everything will be easy. Fellow Taoist, isn't this price a bit high? Although they have already made a considerable profit, who would raise their own profits? Upon hearing this, Li Wenli's face immediately showed a bitterness, and he said, fellow Taoist, if we reduce it further, we won't make any profit. For such words, whoever believes it is a fool. The two of them went back and forth, and finally agreed to provide the Nanya Chamber of Commerce with 30,000 bottles of low-end first-level spiritual pills, 2,000 magic tools, 10,000 talismans, etc. every month at a price of 80% off the market price, with a total value of about 150,000. Even with this, the Li family still has more than 10% profit. Then Li Wenli personally escorted the man out of Banyan Island. Looking at his anxious back, he couldn't help but chuckle. Finally, those stocks have been sold. He had a very good intention to open up the basic knowledge of skills, but after a long time, the disadvantages were revealed. That is, among this part of the tribesmen, even if they have some talent, when they first learn, the spiritual objects they refine can only be said to be successful, and the quality is a mess. What's more, most of the tribesmen have no talent. It's okay to say that spiritual objects such as talismans and magic tools are external, but spiritual pills have to be eaten into the stomach. There are many poisons in the pills. How can the Li family allow the tribesmen to take them? But if they don't take them, they can only pile up there. It's impossible to throw them away directly, right? After all, it's also a sum of spiritual stones. As a result, these low-end spiritual objects are increasing, so many that they are all bursting. Finally, the elders were called together to brainstorm and came up with the idea of dumping at a low price. This method has been targeted at various chambers of commerce from the beginning. Because low-end elixirs contain more poison and have low drug resistance, casual cultivators may take more than 10 or 20 bottles of elixirs, which will be reflected. If the Chamber of Commerce is not used, the Li family will not be able to sell the elixirs in a year or two. Now that the Nanya Chamber of Commerce has been dealt with, other chambers of commerce will also come to the Li family. At that time, the Li family only needs to be a supplier. Although the profit is not as much as the sales of their own, the overall income will definitely be more. With this amount of spiritual stones, the Li family can allocate a lot more funds, and can do more things that are beneficial to the family, such as nourishing spiritual veins, purchasing spiritual objects, methods, etc. No matter which one, it is very costly, the distant sea where few people go. A slightly smaller sea monster, judging from its breath, has just broken through the 4th level, hunting in the shallow sea, carefully exploring the surroundings, and will immediately escape into the deep sea at the slightest sign of trouble. Damn that flat-haired beast, we must take it down this time, let it be tortured but not dead, torture it day and night. Several huge sea monsters were lying in ambush around, communicating with each other through voice transmission. Even though they couldn't hear the sound, they could still feel the anger in their words. In the past few years, Xiaoqing would come to hunt a 4th level monster every few months. He occasionally missed during this period, but as the sea people became more vigilant, his harvest became less and less. Especially last year, he didn't catch a 4th level monster. Xiaoqing knew that those 4th level monsters were afraid and hid. Although there were many of them, they came and went without a trace and were unpredictable. So Xiaoqing rested for a year and didn't take action. The purpose was to let them relax their vigilance so that he could wait for an opportunity to act. Sure enough, he suddenly took action a few months ago and joined forces with Feng Peng. He successfully caught a 4th level sea monster and shared it together. Once this happened, those mediocre 4th level sea monsters were all in danger. They couldn't stay in the deep sea forever, because there was relatively little food in the deep sea, not enough for them to eat. Why are the bodies of sea monsters so huge? In addition to the innate reasons brought by their blood, it is also because they often eat a lot of blood and flesh. Gradually, this became a habit that went deep into their bones, and they would be hungry if they didn't eat for a meal. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 688 Concept. In order to deal with Xiaoqing, the sea monsters put aside their past grudges and found a way to set up such a trap. You know, there are many hatreds between the various races within the Sea Clan, but there is pressure from the Dragon Clan above, and they know that in this world where the human race is flourishing, they can only survive by sticking together, so they reluctantly belong to one force. Normally, both sides deliberately avoid each other, so as not to be unable to resist and fight one day. Now because of Xiaoqing, they have temporarily given up their hatred. It is conceivable how much hatred the Sea Clan has for him. And the traps set by the Sea Clan are not only in this place, but also in several places. As for why they don't ask the 5th level monster to take action? Because of their noble status, most of them only want to break through and ascend, and don't want to get involved in cause and effect, and the sea area is vast. Who knows where and when Xiaoqing will appear? They are unwilling to waste time on such trivial matters. Anyway, it's not their own bloodline that died. It's not that Xiaoqing can see through the identities of the sea monsters in advance. It's mainly because Yi and Fengpeng can't take down these sea monsters with good backgrounds in a short time. Once this happens, they will decisively give up their goals. After all, if the sea monsters can't be taken down quickly, the noise of the battle will inevitably attract nearby sea monsters, and then it will be him and Fengpeng who will be in danger. When the sea monsters patiently ambushed Xiaoqing, they didn't know that Yi and Fengpeng were flying in the sky at this time, searching for suitable targets. Tisk. Xiaoqing looked at the 4th level sea monster below that was obviously a bait, sneered, and said, "Do you really think we are fools?" He has seen several such ambushes along the way. At first, Xiaoqing didn't think much about it, but slowly realized that something was wrong, and then flew around with Fengpeng, and then confirmed that this was a trap prepared for them. The sea tribe is not going to sit and wait for death. Let's go back and come back in a few years, Fengpeng on the side persuaded. Knowing that there are tigers in the mountains, but still going there, such people are either very confident or foolish. Unfortunately, Xiaoqing and Fengpeng did not meet the requirements, so they had to leave. Alice. I don't know when I can eat the flesh and blood of the 4th level again after today's separation. There was a bit of regret in his words. Without flesh and blood, don't we still need elixirs? Brother Jiu is not in seclusion, so I can ask him to help refine a few furnaces of precious elixirs. Fengpeng didn't think there was anything to regret, but it was just a resource for cultivation. The flesh and blood of the 4th level sea monster, how can it be compared with precious elixirs? Xiaoqing shook his head and sighed. It's a pity that such a precious land actually fell into the hands of the Sea Clan, although the near sea and the far sea belong to the same boundless sea. Compared with the former, the resources are several levels higher. If it is occupied by the human race, I don't know how much the overall strength of the cultivation world will be improved. After chatting for a while, the two flew towards Banyan Island. The sea monsters hiding in the deep sea had no idea that Zhaoking had left, and they were still waiting there in misery. Until a few months later, they had not heard of Zhaoking, and many big monsters could not stand this boring life, so they went back to their own homes. This ambush ended before it even started. Zhaoking, who returned to Banyan Island, began to calm down and practice, polishing the mana accumulated in his body in the past few years, and working hard towards the middle stage of the 4th level. Tisk, seeing Zhaoking like this, Li Zhirui couldn't help but sigh in amazement. He couldn't remember how many years he hadn't seen the situation in front of him. But it was a good thing that Zhaoking was so motivated, so he naturally couldn't pour cold water on him. As long as he kept it up for a few more days, maybe he would break through the middle stage of the 4th level faster. Zhaoking didn't need Li Zhirui to worry about it anymore, and Deking seemed to have recovered a little because of what he said before. The rest depended on those little green turtles to heal Deking's broken heart. Zhaoking had also begun to accumulate energy to prepare for a breakthrough to the 4th level. In addition to daily practice, Li Zhirui now spends the rest of his time studying a spiritual pill, a 4th-order precious pill that can speed up the practice of the divine transformation cultivator. Logically, he should deduce a 5th-order precious pill, but he is not strong enough and his vision is not enough. It is a complete waste of time to deduce a 5th-order precious pill. It is better to find another way and start with the 4th-order precious pill. There is another more important reason the Li family does not have a 5th-order spiritual object. In the beginning, they spent a lot of effort to get a 4th-order spiritual medicine. Which family or faction would be willing to trade a treasure like a 5th-order spiritual medicine? There is no way. Li Zhirui can only use the 4th-order spiritual medicine as the basis and try to deduce a precious pill that is also quite helpful for the practice of the divine transformation cultivator. Unlike the yang transforming soul of the nascent soul realm, the soul of the divine transformation realm has already completed the yang transforming. If you want to break through the refining void, you have to collect and refine a kind of heaven and earth yuan qi and merge it with your own soul, so that the soul will further transform and become a yang god, and from then on, the body and spirit are both wonderful. The danger of refining the heaven and earth primordial qi is far greater than that of yang ho soul. If you are not careful, your soul will be injured. In order to reduce the danger, the heaven and earth primordial qi chosen by the soul transforming cultivators are generally in line with their own laws. For example, when Li Zhirui broke through the nascent soul, he chose the purification law that matched his own spiritual roots, so he had better refine and purify the primordial qi. The elixir recipe he wanted to create could neither increase mana nor strengthen the soul. It only had one function, which was to make himself cater to the heaven and earth primordial qi, thereby reducing the natural rejection of primordial qi. But how difficult it was. Even if Li Zhirui was brilliant, it would not be possible to create an elixir recipe out of thin air without decades of hard work, not to mention that the elixir recipe he thought of this time was so wonderful. Time flies like an arrow. In the blink of an eye, another 3 to 5 years passed. As for the new elixir recipe, Li Zhirui could not find the beginning for a long time, and he was very irritable in his heart. He had to put it aside temporarily, so as not to give rise to obsessions and be taken advantage of by the inner demon. One day, Li Chengsheng came suddenly. "Dad, I plan to go out and practice." Looking for an opportunity to break through the nascent soul, Li Zhirui was shocked to realize that he had already cultivated to the golden core perfection. "Have you decided?" "I have decided." "Then go ahead, be careful." Li Chengsheng bowed and said, "I don't know when I will be back. I will trouble you to take care of the group of Yangli firebirds I cultivated." He put a lot of effort into this group of firebirds. "Don't worry, the family will take good care of them for you." "Then I will go." Only a quarter of an hour later, Li Chengsheng left Banyan Island and went nowhere. But only half a year after he left, Li Chengho and Li Chengru, who had been away from home for many years and also went out to find the opportunity of the nascent soul, came back. Chapter 689. Not only did the two fail to break through the nascent soul stage, but they were covered in wounds, which looked quite serious. The spiritual beasts they contracted were also in a bad condition. At that time, Li Zhirui, who was in retreat, was alarmed, and he specially refined a furnace of top-grade healing elixirs for them. "Ancestor Rui, how are the two elders?" Li Wenli asked worriedly. Not to mention that both of them are rare in the late Jinden stage of the family. Li Zhirui is the only refiner in the Li family who can refine top-grade magic weapons. His identity and status are very important. You have to rest quietly for a while. Li Zhirui's face was not very good, because the injuries on the two were not caused by ordinary fights, but seemed to be abused. But the current situation of the two was not convenient to ask what happened, so wait until the injuries are better. Wenli, tell the clansmen to be more careful, and report to the family in time if they find sneaky cultivators. I don't know if their enemies will chase them. If they really chase them, it will be a good thing. Yes, Li Wenli suppressed his doubts, bowed, and hurried to issue orders, hundreds of miles away from Banyan Island, in a small, ordinary market, in a specially rented cave. 3 Jinden monks gathered here. I told you to keep an eye on those two people at all times. Now, they have escaped. How can we report to the ancestor when we go back? One of them couldn't help complaining. You were the one who was watching over them that day, but they escaped. What has it to do with me? If you hadn't gone out to have a feast, would they have escaped? You are incompetent. Those 2 monks are almost useless, and you actually let them escape. You? Alright. Shut up, the red monk with the highest cultivation level shouted. The 2 did not dare to disobey him, and they immediately quieted down, but the confrontation between their eyes never stopped. It has already happened, let's think about how to deal with it now. You don't want the ancestors' methods to fall on you, the red monk said with a gloomy face. Hearing this, the 2 shuddered and said hurriedly, Brother, you are the smartest, do you have any ideas? The identities of those 2 people should be members of the Li family. Now they may have escaped back to the family. It is impossible for us to catch them again. After a pause, he continued, but there are countless cultivators who specialize in fire-based exercises in the world. Just replace 2 more cultivators, but be careful, lest the Li family discovers your traces. Not to mention destroying the calculations of the ancestors, it will also cause the sect to provoke the enemy of the Li family. The next night, the 3 gathered again. Brother, the Li family has issued an order, saying that there are traces of demon cultivators in the territory. Be vigilant against strange cultivators. It is best to go out in groups. If you find suspicious people, the Li family will also give you a generous bonus, because they were closer to Banyan Island. They were the first to receive the order. Once this order was issued, not only did everyone feel in danger, but it also made all the cultivators very alert. If they approached a little, they would be warned. If they continued to move forward, the targeted Jinden would immediately flee. Then wait for a while, don't rush to act. It will take some time for the demon fire in the ancestor's body to riot. We just need to go back before the old disease breaks out, the red monk thought for a while and said, half a month later. On Banyan Island, Li Zhirui and Li Zhenghua's injuries recovered a lot. Li Zhirui then asked what the 2 had encountered outside and why they were so miserable. Uncle Jiu, speaking of this, Li Zhenghua's expression suddenly became depressed. Li Zhirui was not in a hurry and waited for the 2 to calm down. At the beginning, Zhenghua and I were still doing well when we were training outside. Although we had some setbacks, we worked together, and with our own spirit beasts, we didn't encounter any hardships. It was just that we didn't find the opportunity to break through, which made us a little discouraged. Li Zhenghua's face showed a trace of nostalgia, and he murmured, as time went by, Zhenghua and I gradually lost confidence. We thought about coming back to rest after being away from home for many years, but unexpectedly, on the way home, we encountered a drama directed and performed by ourselves. Speaking of this, his eyes were full of anger, because I saw that the cultivator was miserable and flew towards us, and there were only 2 Jinden cultivators chasing him, so I thought about saving his life. Who would have thought that the man would take advantage of us while we were fighting and attack us from behind? The 3 of them joined forces to subdue us, and then wanted to take us away. The resentment that soared to the sky made Li Zhirui frown. During this period, the 2 of them never gave up struggling, and were severely tortured by the 3 cultivators. If they hadn't escaped by chance when there was only 1 person guarding them. But they were discovered as soon as they left the city gate. They were chased all the way. At this time, the 2 were already exhausted. If their spirit beasts had not fled desperately, they would not know if they were still alive. Are you sure that the 3 people are cultivators? And not demon cultivators? Li Zhirui frowned and asked. Judging from the fact that they captured Cheng Ruo and Cheng Hui but did not kill them to rob treasures, they may have other purposes. and those who want something from the cultivators themselves are either demon cultivators, evil cultivators, or demon beasts. Li Zhirui asked the demon cultivators directly because the aura of demon beasts is more obvious, and they can't fail to see the clues and come forward to save people. No. They are cultivators, Li Zhirui said affirmatively. Li Zhirui on the side also nodded and agreed. Uncle Jiu, we have been together for a few days, we will definitely not be wrong. Hearing this, Li Zhirui's expression became much more solemn, and he said in a deep voice, could it be that a Yuanying cultivator has been possessed by a demon? He plans to use you two to practice magic. If this is the case, it would explain why the cultivators captured them and why they were abused instead of being beaten and killed directly. Because many magic skills require souls full of resentment and hatred to increase their cultivation. Do you still remember their appearance? Although there is a high probability that they used fake appearances, it is at least a clue. After a while, the two described the appearance of the three cultivators. You should take good care of your injuries, and the family will help you vent your anger. Although they said so, they all knew in their hearts that the hope of catching the three people was still slim. Li Zhirui asked Li Wenli to copy these three portraits and distribute them to every clan member stationed outside, so that more casual cultivators would know. And directly announced his speculation, trying to find the three cultivators with the help of everyone's power. Do you think the nascent soul cultivator who practices magic skills that the Li family said really exists? A casual cultivator looked around and said. Several casual cultivators around him were not fools, and they discussed carefully, are you saying that the Li family is using this as an excuse to eliminate dissidents? Chapter 690 Chaos. It's not impossible. After all, the Li family's foundation is not solid. They are also worried about the impact on their status. They don't know that the Li family, including the spirit beasts, already has nearly 10 combat forces equivalent to the nascent soul. Now the outside world's impression of the Li family is that there are 4 nascent soul combat forces, namely Li Zhirui, Zhang Fengwu, Taking and Zhaoqing. The first 2 were because they held a grand ceremony after the breakthrough, so they naturally couldn't hide it. The reason for Zhaoqing and Taking is similar. At that time, the Li family was not as closed as it is now, and the movement of the tribulation was the focus of everyone's attention. When Fengpeng was going through the tribulation, the market on the east and west sides activated the illusion array, and the mainland 200 miles away could not see the situation on the island at all, so naturally there was no way to know. But I haven't heard that any family or sect has given birth to a nascent soul true lord, isn't it the Shulingmen and Wu Aishan in the south? Several people talked about it, and the more they talked, the more outrageous it became. Alright. This is just our guess. Don't tell anyone else. If the Li family finds out, neither you nor I will be in trouble. The cultivator who first started the conversation saw that his goal had been achieved, and interrupted everyone with seemingly good intentions. Humph. The Li family is just a Yuanying family. Even if I tell others, what can they do to me? Sure enough, an impulsive cultivator fell into the trap. Within a few days, the rumor became known to everyone. Some cultivators were worried that the Li family was excluding dissidents as the rumor said, so they immediately arranged for the younger generation to leave and retain a fire and inheritance for their family. The independent cultivators cherished their lives even more. For a time, a large number of independent cultivators fled the Li family's territory, causing the Li family's income to drop sharply. When Li Zhirui heard the news, he instantly understood that either the forces that attacked Li Chengru and the others were secretly pushing them, or other forces were fishing in troubled waters. After all, because of the cheap spiritual objects, they had attracted the surrounding cultivators, which led to a decrease in the number of cultivators in their area, and they had long been resentful. Ancestor, what should we do now? Li Wenli asked anxiously. Li Zhirui was very calm and did not take this matter to heart at all. As long as time passed and the vassals of the Li family did not make any moves, the cultivators would naturally come back. It was not easy for them to earn spiritual stones. However, they needed to guard against a certain family or several forces lurking in the dark, and they could not let them make a move on the vassal forces, otherwise the Li family would really be in trouble. Just act according to the previous plan. Seeing his calm appearance, Li Wenli's anxiety calmed down and he said with a cupped hand, yes, who made the move? Li Zhirui's eyes were deep. Judging from who benefited the most and who is the most suspicious, it should be Shulingmen and Wu Aishan. Most of the cultivators moved towards them, and they were closer to the hinterland of the Li family, so they could know what happened to the Li family faster and respond. After thinking about it, he called Zhaoqing and Fengpeng over. Because the couple went to the distant sea to catch sea monsters for food from time to time, not only did their cultivation grow rapidly, but their bodies were also much larger than birds of prey of the same level. The boundless sea was boundless, and they were elusive, so they were safe and sound until now. However, they were not without injuries. They were ambushed 2 or 3 times during the period. Fortunately, they reacted quickly and did not go too deep, but even so, they escaped with their lives. However, this did not dispel the couple's idea of hunting sea monsters, but instead intensified their hatred. They originally only targeted 4th-level sea monsters, but began to attack 3rd-level sea monsters. In the end, Li Zhirui saw that the two had gone too far. If they invited a 5th-level monster, they would not know how they died, so he asked to detain the two in Banyan Island and not allow them to go out to hunt sea monsters. After all these years of consuming the flesh and blood of the great demon, their cultivation has increased rapidly. Zhaoqing is about to break through. It is just right for them to stay in the family and practice well, and polish away the evil spirit. The speech is back. Brother Jiu, you asked us to come here, but do you have anything to tell us? Facing Zhaoqing's inquiry, Li Zhirui also said directly, I hope you can lead the team to be normal on the Li family's territory, so that the family will not be calculated by others. Brother Jiu, don't worry, Zhaoqing, who was confined on the island, missed the outside world for a long time. Now that he finally got the chance, how could he not be happy? This matter is very important, don't be perfunctory, Li Zhirui emphasized again and again, fearing that Zhaoqing would let himself go once he went out, and how could he remember the mission? Fortunately, Fengpeng, who was more stable, was watching from the side, otherwise he would not be assured to leave the matter to Zhaoqing. By the way, if you find a sneaky giant and cultivator, you can also take him down directly and wait for the family to interrogate him. If they are innocent, the Li family will offer a generous spiritual object compensation. If they are not innocent, then their death is coming. In the depths of a barren mountain located in the south, more than a dozen cultivators dressed in black suddenly appeared in this place. The Li family has always been smart and meticulous. If we really want to take action, we might be exposed, a cultivator said worriedly. But now is the best time to take action. If we miss it, I don't know how long we have to wait. Yes, the Li family is stronger than the sect. If we gather so many independent cultivators and earn spiritual stones from them, the sect may be destroyed in the future. In fact, even if there are not so many independent cultivators, according to the development speed of the Li family, they are very likely to be destroyed. It's just a matter of time. And they are taking advantage of the situation now, which is just a little delaying the time of death. We should be careful and don't need to eliminate too many vassal forces. As long as we can kill 1 or 2 of them, we will complete the mission. In this way, we should not be discovered by the Li family. If this is the case, and they are all discovered by the Li family, then it is their fate and cannot be changed by human power. Then do it. Be careful and don't reveal your traces. When you retreat, don't fly directly to the sect. Take a few more detours. The leading monk finally decided to take action. And isn't there another group of monks? At the same time, the 3 monks. Brother, this place is in chaos now. It is a good time for us to act, the man said with expectation. If we can capture a few more monks who mainly practice fire, we will definitely get the reward of the ancestor. Yes, brother, we have been here for several days. If we don't take action, I'm afraid it will be too late. It's rare that this man did not object, but agreed. You know, because Li Chengru and Li Chenghu were let go, these 2 people, who were close to each other in the past, became enemies, and they always quarreled. Then let's do it. There happens to be another group of monks here. Maybe they can help us attract some attention. Chapter 691 Extreme Speed. The 2 groups of cultivators who had never met before did not discuss but started fighting at the same time. The 3 took advantage of the chaos to find a giant and cultivator who practiced a fire-based technique, while the other group found a weaker giant and family, and later fanned the flames among the independent cultivators and framed the Li family. Third uncle, someone is attacking the family. The Lin family only has 2 giantons, and their strength is mediocre, so they were targeted. Do you think they are cultivators from the Li family? Clan leader Lin thought about it and shook his head. Not likely. Everyone knew that the Li family was a beast-controlling family, but they didn't see the group of cultivators summoning spirit beasts, and if they really wanted to attack them, why didn't they just ask Yuanying to do it? At worst, they could arrange more Jinden cultivators, but this group of cultivators only had 5 Jindens, and even the low-level cultivators were only 20 or 30 people. It seems that someone is plotting against the Li family. The third uncle Lin's eyes flashed, and he said, if we can help the Li family, will we get rewards and trust from the Li family afterwards, but in this way, we will also offend the force to which this group of cultivators belongs. Those who dare to attack the Li family are at least a Yuanying force. How can the Lin family afford such revenge? Another Jinden didn't dare to gamble, nor did he want to gamble. It is better to intercept them outside temporarily. After a long time, they will see no hope of breaking the formation and will naturally retreat. 19th brother, you think too simply. Third uncle Lin shook his head and said, we blocked today's attack, didn't we also destroy their calculations? It is better to report to the Li family and capture all these cultivators, which will not only please the Li family, but also eliminate the disaster. This Patriarch Lin weighed the pros and cons, and finally decided to take a gamble, saying, Uncle, third uncle is right. The Lin family has already joined the game. If we keep avoiding it, the family will fall into a more dangerous situation. Didn't the Li family send a special communication talisman a few days ago? It just came in handy today. In order to stabilize the situation as soon as possible, the Li family paid a lot of price. Just sending a third-level communication talisman to each vassal force was worth a lot. With the activation of this communication talisman, the garrison monks deployed by the Li family in various places took action instantly, regardless of the cost, and sent the news back to Banyan Island within a quarter of an hour. As soon as Li Zhirui received the news, he used the secret method of soul transmission to let Zhaoqing take Fengpeng to the Lin family as quickly as possible. I have used the secret method to let Zhaoqing rush there as soon as possible. They can't escape. Li Zhirui's eyes showed a cold murderous intent. It seems that the Li family has not taken action for so many years, and the world has forgotten how the Li family got such a large territory. Huh? As long as this group of monks is caught, the matter will be settled. Li Wenli heard this and was relieved. If the Lin family is destroyed, the prestige of the Li family will be greatly reduced. This is something he absolutely does not want to see. Things are not that simple. There is another group of cultivators. Li Zhirui shook his head. He had suspected that there was another group of cultivators before, and the news from the Lin family confirmed his guess. There is still no news about the cultivators who attacked Chengru and Chenghuil before. In his opinion, the threat of these 3 people is even greater. Because once the Yuanying's engine behind them tries to use cultivators to speed up their cultivation, they will definitely get addicted and be deeply involved in it, and will not be able to get rid of it in the future. But up to now, no clues about them have been found. At the same time, Zhaoqing, who received the news, was flying towards the Lin family with Fengpeng at full speed. Both of them are wind-attributed spirit beasts. When they burst out, their speed is beyond imagination. In just a quarter of an hour, they have crossed a distance of thousands of miles and arrived at the Lin family's land. Boom! The pressure of the 2 4th-level spirit beasts bursting out at full force, and their figures like giant rocks, shocked the group of cultivators as soon as they appeared. Not good. How come the Li family came so quickly? You know, before they took action against the Lin family, they had inquired about it. This place is thousands of miles away from Banyan Island. Even if a Yuanying cultivator flies at full speed, it will take at least an hour. But now, it is less than half an hour before they take action. This does not include the time it takes to pass the message. According to their calculations, they can definitely deal with the Lin family before the Li family arrives. Unfortunately, they underestimated the importance the Li family attached to this matter. Everyone, commit suicide. Don't drag down the family, the leading Jinden roared, and then encouraged his magic power to self-destruct. Facing 2 4th-level spirit beasts, how could these Jinden cultivators save their own lives? Before the crowd took action, they had already thought about the possibility of failure, but when they really faced death, some of them still wanted to retreat and wanted to save their own lives. And how could the forces behind them not consider this situation? The dead soldiers lurking in the crowd saw that some people were unwilling to die and were planning to sell out the forces behind them to try to save their lives, so they immediately activated the poisonous insects in their bodies. In the blink of an eye, all the black monks turned into a pool of pus. It was so fast that Zhaoqing didn't have time to check their appearance. Family, Zhaoqing muttered to herself when she thought of the man's roar before he died. But when she thought about it carefully, how could there be a Yuanying family near the Li family? Lin Senior Cultivator greets the two seniors. Thank you for saving my life. The two Jinden monks came forward with a group of clansmen to thank them. Zhao King was interrupted from thinking, nodded, and said in a gentle tone, no need to be polite, you did a good job on this matter, the family will remember it. Uncle Lin San was overjoyed when he heard this. They made a bet, wasn't it for this? He immediately spoke up and expressed his loyalty to the Li family. Zhao King nodded perfunctorily and said, the clansmen will come to distribute the reward soon. I have something important to do, so I'll leave first. After that, without waiting for them to reply, he flapped his wings and left. In a certain market. As the situation became more tense, many independent cultivators did not dare to stay in the Li family's territory, and they were worried about encountering danger on the road, so they wanted to gather their companions to leave. But there are always some cultivators who can't find companions, or who think they are quite strong, and act alone. And the three cultivators, after squatting for a few days, finally found a giant cultivator who met the requirements. After he left the city, the three followed him one after another. When they came to a wilderness, they could no longer hold back and rushed over to kill. Who are you? Why are you attacking me? The giant was horrified. While resisting the crazy and deadly offensive, he fled, and at the same time made all kinds of huge noises, hoping that there were cultivators passing by and could help him. It doesn't matter who we are. You just need to know that you are unlucky and have been targeted by the three of us brothers. Chapter 692, Running. That giant and casual cultivator was born, and he only achieved his current cultivation level by chance. How could he be a match for those three people of extraordinary origin? It was because they wanted to capture him alive, and they were quite cautious when they started to fight. That's why he survived until now, otherwise they would have killed him long ago. The casual cultivator gradually saw their concerns, and knew that this was the key to whether he could escape this disaster. He was even more regretful in his heart. The Li family had clearly said that there were three giant thieves who were capturing giant cultivators, but he dared to go out alone. But now is not the time to regret. He is now desperately flying towards the immortal city built by the Li family. As long as he reaches the Li family's territory, the three people behind him will be unable to do anything to him. Don't hold back. If he escapes and spreads the news, I'm afraid we won't be able to complete the task assigned by the ancestor. The three people were not stupid. They saw through his thoughts. They had some concerns at first, but now they can't care so much. Although the effect of the corpse is not as good as that of a living person, it is worse than nothing. Moreover, once the news spread, the monks would not dare to leave the fairy city. How could they have a chance to complete the mission? Perhaps it was God's will that he encountered a patrolling group of Li family members at the critical moment of life and death. Someone is asking for help in the distance. The leading member did not rush over immediately, but activated a third-level communication talisman to pass the news to the nearest garrison member, and then led the members to rush over. The leader was a giant, and with his contracted spirit beast, even if he really encountered three giant, he could protect the members in a short time. He just needed to hold on until the nearby giant members arrived. Damn it, when they saw the Li family monk, the three of them gritted their teeth and cursed, and they were furious. They were about to capture the man, but an uninvited guest came and the duck flew away. Brother, let's do it once and for all. Just capture this man. Although he is not practicing the fire-based exercises, he is at least a giant monk. He should be able to play a role, one of them said viciously. We can't take him down in a short time. If we wait for a long time, we will be in danger. Since the patrol team appeared here, it means that there is an immortal city not far away. There may be a golden elixir in it. When he arrives, it is possible that some of the three of them will be left alive, or even all of them will be left alive. Brother, if we let them go like this, what can we take back to report? Will the ancestor attack us in anger? At that time, it will be a dead end. It is better to fight now. Hearing this, the elder brother was shocked. You are right, I thought too simply. In this case, let's experience the strength of the Li family cultivator. Before the voice fell, a war broke out instantly. Two cultivators targeted the Li family cultivator and his spirit beast, and the remaining one targeted the casual cultivator. Since they were determined to deal with them, they would naturally not show mercy. Every move was to take the lives of the two. The Li family cultivator mainly focused on defense, because the people following him were all foundation-building people, and their strength was weak. If he couldn't protect them, people would die. Although after so many years of development, The number of Li family members has become very large, and the death of one or two people is nothing, but no one wants their family members to die in front of them. Just when he was struggling to resist and protect his family members, the casual cultivator suddenly burst out and knocked him away. He turned around and ran away without even looking at the Li family members who were in danger because of helping him. This scene was so shocking. Ho ha ho ha. I didn't expect that the casual cultivator would actually abandon his savior. Interesting, really interesting. Mind your own business. I want to see how long you can hold on, brother. I'll go after that person. After all, the casual cultivator was their target and the key to their avoidance of punishment. As time passed, the state of the Li family's golden elixir and spirit beast became worse and worse. If this continued, I'm afraid they would all be in trouble. Uncle, if you're really in danger, then run away and don't worry about us, a member of the foundation building clan stood up and said. In the current situation, everyone can see how bad the situation is. As the saying goes, if you defend for too long, you will lose. Since they are slightly weaker in strength, it is amazing that they can hold on until now. I haven't waited for that situation yet, he was amazed. Why haven't the clansmen stationed in the nearby fairy city come yet? Is there any accident? The actual situation is not an accident as he guessed, but Zhao King is rushing on the road with all his strength, wanting to take down the three of them so as to investigate the forces behind them. Brother, I'm back, and what he was holding in his hand was the escaped cultivator. Li Daming, who was already under great pressure, did not wait for the support of the family, but instead had another golden elixir enemy, and he could not hold on any longer. Uncle, go. Don't worry about us. In order to protect the clansmen behind him, Li Daming was already at the end of his strength, with little mana left in his body. No. Since I brought you out, I must bring all of you back to the family safely. What a touching scene, but it's a pity that none of you can leave alive today. They have already wasted a lot of time on this matter, and they are also worried that the support of the Li family will arrive soon, so they plan to get rid of the people as soon as possible and leave quickly. At the critical moment, Zhao King, who had rushed thousands of miles, finally arrived. 4th level spiritual beast, it's over. The three people looked at the fierce wind circle surrounding them, and their hearts couldn't help sinking. And the next move made them even more desperate. In order to prevent them from self-destructing or escaping, the next moment Zhao King appeared, he trapped the three people with fierce winds, and at the same time sealed their Danshan and Sea of Consciousness. It's the Ancestor Kingpin. The Li family members were so excited that their eyes were full of tears. I'm so tired, Zhao King couldn't help complaining. After running back and forth for thousands of miles, even if he was a 4th level spiritual beast, he was a little overwhelmed. This resentment naturally couldn't be vented on the Li family. Apart from them, there were only the three people and the casual cultivators they caught. Zhao King knew that they could still use Li Zhirui, so she just tortured him a little and then stopped. Li Daming, who had been holding on for a breath, was relieved when he saw Zhao King coming, and immediately fainted. Uncle, everyone exclaimed, and some people were already sobbing, thinking that he was dead. Okay, he just consumed too much energy, it's nothing, Zhao King nodded secretly in his heart. This young man is really good. I believe Li Zhirui will pay some attention to him. Ancestor, if that casual cultivator hadn't broken through and escaped, Uncle wouldn't have to face 3 cultivators, let alone end up in such a situation. After knowing that Li Daming was fine, everyone immediately pointed their spearheads at the culprit. Chapter 693 Confession. There is such a thing. Zhao Qing's face sank. If he hadn't arrived in time, not only Li Daming, but also the tribesmen behind him would not have survived. The casual cultivator panicked and said hurriedly, no. I ran away to lead them away, so as not to implicate everyone. After saying that, he was afraid that they would not believe it, so he repeated it again and again. Humph, even though he knew that he was lying, Li Daming and others were not in trouble. Zhao Qing couldn't really do anything to him. He could only snort coldly and take the people back to Banyan Island and hand them over to Li Zhirui for interrogation. Now that the matter has been resolved, please make a trip and tell the news to the tribesmen stationed in various places, so that they will not be worried. Zhao Qing instructed everyone that he would take the people back for interrogation, which meant that the crisis had been resolved, otherwise he would not be at ease to hand the matter over to them. Don't worry, Ancestor, we promise to complete the task, then I will go back first. After saying that, he grabbed the 4 cultivators and flew towards Banyan Island. As for Li Daming, who was still in a coma, They would take care of him temporarily, and settle him down when they reached the next fairy city. This time, because they were not in a hurry to travel, it took Zhaoking more than half an hour to return to the family. "You've worked hard, why don't you go back and rest first?" Li Zhirui said a little embarrassedly. Zhaoking shook his head and refused. "It's okay, I also want to know who is so bold to dare to attack the Li family. He made him run around everywhere, and he must repay him when the time comes." Seeing this, Li Zhirui did not persuade him anymore, and asked in confusion, "Aren't there only 3 cultivators? How come there is one more person?" Zhaoking explained the reason why the casual cultivator was captured, which made the surrounding clansmen glare at him. If there were no elders, they might have taken action. Li Zhirui looked at him thoughtfully. He always felt that this casual cultivator had something in common with Li Chengru and Li Chenghua, otherwise so many giant and cultivators would have targeted them. "Where were you attacked? Why did they target you?" Li Zhirui asked several questions like this. He was able to answer some of them, but he was also puzzled by others. "Okay, go now." After asking the questions, he let the man go. He was just an unlucky guy who was dragged into this for no reason. There was no point in keeping him. By the way, he also dispersed the crowd of onlookers, leaving only Li Wenli and a few elders. It was inconvenient for him to interrogate with so many people, and the most important thing was that the news would spread quickly. To put it bluntly, if the Li family wanted to retaliate, they had to see how strong the other party was. If the strength was too strong, or it would cause serious losses to the Li family, they would have to suppress this idea. But some young and energetic members of the family who were proud of their family might not be able to bear this tone, and then it would be troublesome. If they took action, the Li family would have to pay a heavy price. If they didn't take action, it would undermine the confidence of the members of the family and make them disappointed in the family. So it was better to let a small number of members know first and then discuss it after seeing the situation. Li Zhirui suddenly remembered the group of monks who committed suicide. They left no clues about their identities and were lurking in the dark. It was unknown when they would come out and catch the Li family off guard. He put this matter aside for the time being and solved the matter at hand first. If he wanted to know more information, he had to start with these 3 independent cultivators. Li Zhirui asked Zhaoking to slightly release their control over their bodies, but only allowed one of them to speak. The other 2 were blinded to their 5 senses to prevent them from connecting with each other. "Tell me, which sect are you from?" Seeing that he kept his mouth tightly shut, Li Zhirui didn't care and continued to ask, "Your goal of capturing monks alive is to cultivate magic skills for a certain elder, right? You deliberately ran to the Li family's territory, so I think it's the 3 nearby sects. Is it Shuling sect? Wuai Mountain? Or Kingxun sect?" Every time he asked, he would pause for a moment to observe the man's reaction. Although the man tried his best to control his expression and reaction, he was still captured by Li Zhirui. "Is it Wuai Mountain?" Seeing his tense body suddenly relax, he smiled and said, "It seems not." He repeated the same thing and asked the remaining 2 people one by one. Zhaoking and others were puzzled by Li Zhirui's behavior. Zhaoking was getting a little impatient and muttered in a low voice, "If you ask me, why waste so much time? Just use the soul search method directly. Anyway, it is impossible to save their lives." Li Zhirui pretended not to hear, and released the 5 senses of the 3 people, and said with a smile, "Is it Kingxun sect? The 3 cultivators you captured are all practicing fire-based exercises." It was during the questioning process that he suddenly found the common points between Li Chengru and the other 2. And next to the Kingxun sect is the Fire Demon sect, and the 2 have been fighting for years, so it should be very easy to get a magic technique. The 3 people's faces changed drastically, but before they could speak, they said to themselves, "I am very curious. The Kingxun sect sent cultivators to capture the fire element golden pill. Did the entire sect's high-level leaders all get bewitched by the magic? Or was it a private action of a certain Yuanying's engine?" No matter which one it was, as long as the matter was reported to the Wangxiang sect, Xianan sect or Jian sect, the Li family would get a reward. If it was the former, the reward would be even more generous. You know, immortals and demons cannot coexist, at least on the surface. After all, the power of the magic is still very useful to the big forces. However, the high-level cultivators and the entire immortal forces are absolutely not allowed to be possessed by the devil. Once discovered, there will be absolutely no leniency. You should know how severe the punishment for this matter is in the Xianmen rules. If you tell me, I can still say a few words for you and make up for your mistakes. Li Zhirui said lightly. The so-called Xianmen Code is the bottom line that all Xiandao forces must abide by. Of course, this is the case on the surface. As long as you are not discovered or reported, it doesn't matter what you do in private. When he said this, he also quietly cast a spell to amplify emotions. The three people who had already collapsed in their hearts did not continue to hold on, and hurriedly said, as long as the senior is willing to say a few good words for us, we will tell you everything we know. Seeing Li Zhirui nod, the three people were afraid of speaking too slowly, and they talked about the whole thing. As we all know, except for the western region, which is the last territory of the demonic path, the other continents are all dominated by the immortal path. Although there are some demonic forces, the significance of their existence is mostly used to suppress medium-sized forces and slow down their development speed, such as the Yinfeng cave in the past. In this way, a situation will arise, that is, the destruction of the demonic forces is more frequent. Chapter 694 Report. Therefore, there are many relics of the magic path, and it is easy to find some advanced magic skills. The Qingxuan sect once explored a relic of the magic path, and found a book of magic skills that can be practiced to the fusion realm. However, the Qingxuan sect's skills cannot go any further after the early stage of the transformation of the spirit. At that time, they must either switch to other methods or open up their own way. However, fearing the Xianmen Code, no one dared to switch to magic skills, but high-level skills are rare, not to mention that this is a method that can directly reach the fusion realm. They are reluctant to destroy it and just seal it up. The reason why the rules were suddenly broken was that in a battle with the Fire Demon sect a few years ago, 2 Yuanings of the Qingxuan sect were seriously injured, with demonic fire entrenched in their bodies, and they were in great pain, and they could clearly feel the loss of their own vitality. After trying all means, they still couldn't be cured. In order to survive, they suddenly remembered the magic skills they had obtained that year and regarded them as their life-saving straw. After quietly changing to the magic skills, they unexpectedly found that not only did their injuries heal, but their cultivation, which had not increased for many years, also showed a significant improvement. The two people who were just thinking about surviving at the beginning, their ambitions grew instantly. But their situation could not be discovered by other brothers, otherwise they would probably lose their lives, so the two of them set up a plan. Taking advantage of the fact that the two were about to die, they said that they wanted to say goodbye to their brothers and sisters, invited most of their fellow disciples in the nascent soul stage into the cave, and then, while everyone was not prepared, the formation was activated instantly, trapping everyone. They also knew that even a 4th-level formation could not trap everyone for too long, so the purpose of this formation was to infect everyone with a magic fire. In this way, as long as they didn't want to die, they had to change to the magic skills like them. Even if some people were unwilling to go along with the crowd, it didn't matter, because those who wanted to survive would definitely occupy the majority, and if they refused to change their minds, they would only die. In fact, at the beginning, some people did stick to the so-called Xianmen Code, but in the end they chose to bow their heads, because the cultivators who were unwilling to bow their heads all became materials for others to practice. In order to avoid being noticed by other forces, they did not choose the demon-tainted disciples. Only some of the Jinden disciples knew about it. The other disciples were all secretly controlled by secret methods. Life and death depended on their thoughts. The 3 of them were the Jinden disciples who knew the inside story. The reason why they were able to tell the story safely was not because the secret method in their bodies had failed, but because they did not dare to leak the secret. Because it seems that they are still cultivators, but in fact, the Jinden disciples who know the real situation all have a little demon fire in their danshan. They are demon cultivators who have not changed their cultivation methods. If they tell the situation of Qingxuan sect, they will not be able to escape death. Unfortunately, under the temptation of Li Zhirui's secret method, their fear and desire to survive were magnified, and they believed Li Zhirui's promise and told everything they knew. Qingxuan sect has more than a dozen Yuanings. Even if other cultivators have not been possessed by demons, it is still a great achievement. Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with light, and he murmured, maybe I can exchange it for a 5th-level spiritual object. He never thought of doing it himself. Although the rewards of doing so are more abundant, the current strength of the Li family is tantamount to hitting a rock with an egg, so it is better to simply report it to those big forces. Next, we should consider which big force to hand over these 3 people to in order to gain greater benefits. This is also the reason why Li Zhirui did not use the soul-searching secret method at the beginning. Their existence is still valuable. The big forces such as Wangxiang sect are too far away, and we have no contact with them before. Maybe they will embezzle some of the gains, or even send us away with some rags. After a careful inventory, he didn't find a suitable candidate. Ancestor, what do you think of Xuanfa Pavilion? Li Wenli's words immediately made Li Zhirui's eyes light up. Yes, how could he forget this big force? Actually, it's not his fault. After all, in the impression of the world, Xuanfa Pavilion is more of a chamber of commerce, and few people think that it is also very powerful. Compared with other major forces, Xuanfa Pavilion is not only closer, but also has exchanges before. Most importantly, their collection is richer. Maybe he can find good things. Why not choose the Nanaya Chamber of Commerce, which has a closer relationship? Because strictly speaking, it is not considered an Eastern region force. I'm going to Xuanfa Pavilion now. You should pay more attention on the island. After saying that, Li Zhirui grabbed the three people and disappeared in front of everyone. I was wondering why the magpie climbed the branch and chirped today. It turned out that there was a distinguished guest. The shopkeeper was slightly startled when he heard that Li Zhirui was coming. He hurried out to greet him and shouted in surprise. I specially sent you a big gift. The shopkeeper carefully glanced at Li Zhirui. Seeing that he didn't look like he was here to cause trouble, he felt relieved and bowed and said, Senior, please come in, but what about the three monks covered by a black cloth behind him? After entering the private room, the shopkeeper's doubts were answered. These three people are from the Coexists sect, but what does this have to do with the Xuanfa Pavilion? They never participated in the struggles between the various forces. They complained in their hearts but dared not say it out loud. The Coexists sect they belong to has a total of 15 Yuanying Zhenjin, dozens of Jinden into the devil, and the rest of the disciples have also been arranged with the magic secrets. When the shopkeeper heard this, he stood up suddenly, his attitude became extremely enthusiastic, and said, Senior, is what you said true? Of course. The witness is here. If you don't believe it, you can ask again. Li Zhirui casually clicked on a photostone, and the content inside was exactly the process of his interrogation of the three people. The shopkeeper watched the projection intently, not daring to miss any moment. After all, this matter was of great importance and no mistakes could be made. About a quarter of an hour later, the projection had ended. The shopkeeper couldn't hold back his joy and said, Senior, you have reported a piece of extremely important news to the Chamber of Commerce. After the Chamber of Commerce has dealt with the Coexists sect, you will definitely get a generous reward. Oh? Can you tell me what the rewards are? Li Zhirui immediately asked. The shopkeeper thought for a while and said, it depends on how many cultivators have been possessed by demons. However, with just those dozen Yuanying, Senior should be able to exchange for a 5th level spiritual object, and maybe even 1 or 2 4th level spiritual objects, as long as it is a spiritual object that the Chamber of Commerce has. Can it be exchanged? Yes, a gleam of light flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. It was obvious that these demon cultivators had other uses that he didn't know about. When he first started practicing, he was surprised by this rule in the Xianmen rules. Why would there be generous rewards for reporting demonic forces and high-level cultivators? But after so many years, he had never encountered such a thing, so he naturally forgot about it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695 History. Now that they happened to meet, Li Zhirui remembered this matter. It was the best time to meet this cultivator who knew the inside story. Although the other party was only a golden elixir, he was in a big force like Xuanfa Pavilion, and his sources of information might be more than Li Zhirui. Could it be that this cultivator who was possessed by the devil had some unknown secrets? The shopkeeper hesitated. Although Xuanfa Pavilion did not have strict confidentiality requirements for this matter, it was not something that could be told to outsiders casually. Li Zhirui's heart moved, and he took out a few bottles of elixir from the storage ring and put them into the other party's arms, saying, I'm just curious. If there's anything that cannot be said, then just pretend that I didn't ask. Hey, it's nothing. He took a sneak peek with his spiritual sense and immediately threw his hesitation behind him. You know, the elixir that Li Zhirui can carry with him is of the highest quality, almost without a trace of impurities. Even if he is the shopkeeper in charge of a state, it is difficult to get elixir of this quality. Whether it is for personal use or for gifts, it is excellent. Seeing that Li Zhirui was so generous, he also expected that there might be a reward afterwards. Please wait for a moment, senior. I will inform the headquarters first. After saying that, he hurriedly left and went to a secret room. He used the sound transmission array to transmit the news that more than a dozen nascent soul cultivators of the Qingxuan sect were possessed by demons, and send it back to the headquarters. Are you sure the news is true? The people at the headquarters were indeed very excited, but to be on the safe side, they still confirmed it again and again. The Li family recorded the whole process with a photostone. The 3 Qingxuan sect cultivators are also in the Chamber of Commerce, and the Li family doesn't have the guts to falsify it. Okay. After the headquarters resolves this matter, we will send the reward over, then the reward share. The other end did not reply immediately, but closed the talisman array. After a long time, it restarted it. You show him the list of the Chamber of Commerce's 5th level spiritual objects, and the share will be calculated based on 1 5th level and 3 4th level items. Let him choose first, and then you can tell the headquarters later. After the matter is done, the spiritual objects will be sent over. Got it? The shopkeeper was deeply moved. It was just a piece of news, but it was so valuable. But on second thought, if the Li family knew the role of the magic cultivator, I don't know if they would regret it. Putting these thoughts aside, he quickly returned to the private room where Li Zhirui was, and said with a smile on his face, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for a long time, senior. The headquarters has just discussed the result, allowing you to choose 1 5th tier spiritual object and 3 4th tier spiritual objects. Why don't you take a look first? Li Zhirui was slightly surprised that the reward was even more generous than he expected, but he didn't show it on his face. He smiled and shook his head, saying, don't worry. I'm still waiting for you to answer my questions. I also found out by accident. If there's something wrong with what I said, I hope you won't blame me. No. As he said that, he gave out a few more bottles of elixirs. After receiving such a generous gift, the shopkeeper did not hesitate and said directly, the senior also knows that compared with a magic path, the immortal path emphasizes moderation and peace, steady progress, and is a bright road, but there are still many cultivators who are bewitched by the magic path's quick success method and turn to the magic sect at that time. The strength of the immortal path was greatly reduced, and even the central region was robbed of most of the magic cultivators. Everyone knows that the magic path has disadvantages, but when their own realm has not made any progress, and the magic cultivators can quickly become stronger. How many people can stick to their original intentions in the face of this huge temptation? Therefore, during that dark period, the immortal path could only shrink and protect itself, while the magic path was thriving, because they did not need to spend a lot of effort to train disciples. As long as they found a way to seduce the cultivators into the devil, they could strengthen themselves. In order to reverse the situation, the immortal path can be said to have tried every possible means, but it is a pity that the effect is not obvious, and at most it can only delay the decline of strength. Until a brilliant Xianjiao came out of nowhere. In order to stop the continuous occurrence of monks being possessed by demons, he created a secret method that could use the possessed monks to resolve karma and cause and effect. After proving that the method was indeed effective, the Immortal Way decided to counterattack and capture those possessed monks to resolve cause and effect karma. Because there were fewer monks at that time, and a large number of monks died during the counterattack, so that later, the entire Immortal Way did not touch any cause and effect karma. In this way, there is a huge benefit. Whether the monks are comprehending the laws or crossing the tribulation, they are as if assisted by God, and their strength has increased instead of decreased. Due to the existence of the secret method, the monks dared not move the idea of becoming a demon again. In addition, the demon way rarely trained disciples by itself, and the possessed monks were eliminated one by one, and the drawbacks of the demon way inheritance were immediately revealed. After a long struggle, the situation in which the Immortal Way has an absolute upper hand was finally formed today. As time passed, this secret method is no longer a public method, and even this history has been covered up. The power of the immortals is so great that no cultivator would choose to become a demon unless their lives are threatened. This is why Xuanfa Pavilion was so generous after receiving the news. More than a dozen Yuanying cultivators have become demons, plus other low-level cultivators. Who knows how many gods can help Xuanfa Pavilion resolve the karma. Who knows, this opportunity can help several gods go one step further. I see. After listening to the shopkeeper's explanation, Li Zhirui nodded in understanding. No wonder the Xianmen rules specifically emphasize the need to report the demon cultivators. Senior, don't you think it's a pity? The shopkeeper asked curiously when he saw his indifferent expression. Li Zhirui shook his head and said, "There's nothing to regret. The Li family is not the opponent of the Qingxuan sect. And it is impossible for them to take down the dozen Yuanings, and they don't know the secret method. What is there for him to regret? A 5th level spiritual object, a 3rd level or 4th level spiritual object, such a generous reward, has exceeded his expectations. However, if there is a chance, Li Zhirui also wants to get the secret method. It is not useful now, but it does not mean that it will not be useful in the future. Senior, you have a good heart," the shopkeeper praised and said. "Senior, come and choose the spiritual objects." Okay, Li Zhirui heard that and suppressed his previous thoughts, with expectation on his face. He took out 3 jade slips, one of which was surrounded by spiritual light and had a ban, which could only be unlocked with his own jade card. "Senior Li, the spiritual objects recorded in this jade slip are extremely rare. Some headquarters only have 1 in stock, and the remaining 2 are ordinary spiritual objects. Your Chamber of Commerce is worthy of being a great force that has been passed down for thousands of years. It has a profound foundation and is not comparable to ordinary forces." Li Zhirui sighed from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps in the eyes of many cultivators, the Wangxiang sect, the Xian'an sect and the Jian sect are the most powerful forces in the eastern region, but he feels that the Zhuanfa Pavilion can definitely compete with them. Chapter 696 Surprise. Senior, you are too kind. Hearing others praising his own power, he was naturally happy and said with a smile, "Senior, please take your time to choose. Don't worry, I will go to work first." Although Li Zhirui could only choose 4 spiritual objects, looking through the list of spiritual objects could broaden his horizons and increase his knowledge. The opportunity was rare, so he naturally didn't want to miss it. Unfortunately, the jade slip of the rare 5th level spiritual object had a restriction, so he couldn't pass it on to others, and couldn't copy it like the other 2 jade slips to back up for the family. Li Zhirui first looked at the restricted jade slips, from the first one, the bright light 9 sparks, to the last one, the cloud and rain, which made him jealous. Each one was very precious and had a special function, and he couldn't choose it at once. Fortunately, he had a clear goal early on. Although he was very tempted by these spiritual objects, especially the Yang God orb among them, if it was refined, it could directly push his soul to Yang perfection, saving decades of work. But Li Zhirui still moved his soul to the other 2 jade slips. Moreover, he always believed that it was better to teach people how to fish than to give them fish. Even if he really had to choose a 5th level spiritual object in the end, Li Zhirui would not take the Yangshan orb, but a 5th level spiritual root, leafless cloud key. This is a spiritual root that lives in the white clouds. It has no leaves and 9 branches. It grows for 500 years to mature, and then bears 9 fruits every 200 years. Its fruit can be used to refine Yuanqi Baodan, increase the mana of the divine transformation monk, and slightly speed up the fusion of the Yuanqi of heaven and earth and the soul. The spiritual root given by Zhuanfa Pavilion has grown for more than 400 years and will soon mature and start to bear fruit. After all, Li Zhirui has enough lifespan, so there is no need to save those decades. As he flipped through the pages, he gradually came to the last page of the 5th level spiritual objects. Except for the leafless cloud key, he did not see any spiritual objects that met his requirements. Alice. I am still greedy after all. After reading the last 5th level spiritual object, Li Zhirui shook his head and sighed. How precious is a spiritual object that can speed up the fusion of Yuanqi and the soul. Zhuanfa Pavilion was very generous to take out a leafless cloud key. Forget it, let's settle on this spiritual root for the 5th level spiritual object. As for the growth environment, Li Zhirui didn't need to worry about it at all with the space in hand. Then he began to check the 4th level spiritual objects. He already had a goal in mind. The first was to increase the spiritual seeds that could break through the nascent soul, and the second was to find the spiritual seeds that could allow the dragon beast bloodline to evolve. He didn't have any ideas about the last quota. He could only see if there was a spiritual object in the list that could attract his attention. With Li Zhirui's deliberate search, he soon found 2 spiritual objects that met the requirements. One was called the Lingying fruit tree, which matured in 300 years. After that, It would bear fruit once every 300 years, and each time it would not exceed 9 fruits. After taking it, it could increase the probability of breaking through the nascent soul by 10%. Don't look at it as only 10%, it is already very high. If it can be refined into a precious pill, it may be able to go further, but there is no pill formula, and it requires a lot of deduction and experiments. I don't know how many years it will take to figure it out. Another kind is called dragon blood peach. It has a lot of fruits, but it also grows for a longer time. It can increase the blood in the dragon beast, but it is only effective for dragon beasts below the 5th level. As for the 3rd, 4th level spiritual object, Li Zhirui has not found one that suits his taste, so he can only continue to search patiently. When he saw the name of a spiritual herb in a brief description, his heart suddenly beat violently, thump thump, like a cowhide drum being slapped hard. Fusion grass. This is a relatively unpopular 4th level spiritual herb. After taking it, the breath can be completely integrated into the surroundings. In the past, it was used to refine spiritual pills such as breath retaining. If it is combined with high-level invisibility talismans, it cannot be discovered even if it is standing in front of it. But when Li Zhirui saw this spiritual herb, he remembered a pill formula he had planned to create before. Its effect is to make itself cater to the yuan qi of heaven and earth, thereby reducing the natural rejection of yuan qi. Why can the precious pill refined by the leafless cloud qi fruit only slightly speed up the fusion of yuan qi and the soul? It was because of the inherent repulsion of yuan qi. He was not sure whether Rongxi grass could satisfy his idea, but it was indeed worth a try. If it failed, it would only be the loss of a 4th level spiritual object, but if it succeeded, then the Li family would have spiritual objects to assist in cultivation in the God transformation realm in the future. Li Zhirui, who had made up his mind, asked the clerk who had been guarding outside the door to call the shopkeeper. After a moment, the shopkeeper pushed the door open and said with a smile, "Senior, have you chosen the spiritual objects, leafless yunqi, linging fruit tree, dragon blood treasure peach, Rongxi grass? These are my choices." Hearing these 4 spiritual objects, the shopkeeper couldn't help asking, "Senior, are you going to break through the God transformation realm? It's still a long way off. I'm only in the middle stage of yuaning now. I don't know if I can break through the God transformation realm in my lifetime." Li Zhirui sighed and said, "It's just that the opportunity is rare, so I want to save some foundation for the family." In front of outsiders, he deliberately lowered his cultivation by a small realm, so as not to touch the sensitive nerves of certain forces. At the same time, he also asked all the clan members not to tell anyone. "Senior, you are so talented. It's easy for you to reach the spiritual transformation realm," the shopkeeper flattered, and also had some questions. "It's difficult. 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 It's more difficult than ascending to heaven." The skills inherited by the family only reached the late stage of the nascent soul. Li Zhirui shook his head, not wanting to talk about it anymore, and said, "Thank you for sending the message back. By the way, I want to purchase a set of sound transmission arrays. I wonder if your Chamber of Commerce has any for sale? How much is it worth?" The Li family's territory is too large. If they still rely on the 100 miles Tongsheng bell or the 3rd level transmission talisman, the transmission of information will be delayed. If something urgent happens, the Li family will not be able to react in time. Yes, but this item is more precious. The Chamber of Commerce does not have any inventory. Senior, why don't you pick it first and send it back to the headquarters later? The shopkeeper did not expect to make a deal, and he turned out another jade slip. The sound transmission array is considered a strategic material, so only the 3rd level talisman array is sold to the outside world. The farthest it can transmit information is 3,000 miles away, which is far inferior to the 4th level talisman array they use. But even so, the price is extremely expensive. According to the longest distance of message transmission, it can be divided into 3 levels, namely 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles and the farthest 3,000 miles, and the price ranges from 300,000 at the beginning to 1 million at the end. But it is still conscientious. At least if you buy a set of talisman array, you will also get the drawing method of matching talismans. Otherwise, you will have to spend spirit stones to buy special talismans in the future. Li Zhirui thought about it in his mind. The family has developed well in recent years and earned a lot of spirit stones. He simply chose the 3000 Li sound transmission sound array. Senior, a deposit of 200,000 spirit stones, He was not big and took out the spirit stones directly and handed them to the shopkeeper. After he counted them, he gave Li Zhirui a certificate. In the future, he would take the remaining 800,000 spirit stones and the certificate to take away the talisman array. Happy National Day everyone! Happy 74th birthday to the great motherland! Chapter 697 Success. Li Zhirui returned to Banyan Island to wait for the reply from Xuanfa Pavilion, but at this time, the Xuanfa Pavilion was arguing over the demon monks of Qingxuan sect. Because of the existence of the secret method of Huiji, the value of the demon monks has become extremely high. A yuanying can completely offset the cause and effect and karma of Huishan, but at least it can resolve more than 10%. And this is enough to make the ancestors of Huishan crazy. Except for the Huishan monks who are wandering outside or in seclusion, everyone else is fighting for the number of demon monks. The ancestors of Huishan, who are high and mighty in the eyes of outsiders, are now arguing red in the face. If it weren't for the loud noise of the action, they might have already fought. Some of them asked for more demon monks on the grounds of their own strong strength, some formed gangs and factions, fought together first, and then distributed. Originally, it was the spiritual realm where the Huishan were practicing, but now it is no different from the market in the mortal world, noisy and chaotic. Brothers, why don't you listen to me? Seeing the situation deadlocked, a certain spirit came out to preside over the situation and said, if we continue to fight like this, there will be no results in a short time, and it will hurt everyone's friendship. I don't know which words touched their hearts, and the hall soon became quiet. I wonder what Brother Ning thinks. There are a total of 16 people present, and according to the information from the Chamber of Commerce, the Qingxuan sect has at least 20 yuanying. On the surface, the Qingxuan sect only has 18 yuanying, but according to the analysis of the various fourth-level spiritual objects they bought in the Xuanfa Pavilion, there are several hidden in secret. Brother Ning said calmly, so, everyone here can at least get a demon yuanying. As for the extra ones, you might as well follow the rules of the Chamber of Commerce. The highest bidder wins. Everyone looked at each other. Didn't anyone among them think of this method? How is it possible? It's nothing more than not wanting to pay the price. As for why Brother Ning Dao came out to make this clear, either he was unwilling to fight for it, or even wanted to sell the demon entering yuanying in his hand, or he was confident that he could get more demon entering yuanying in this way. This is a good idea. The few weaker Huishan agreed one after another. After all, they could at least get one by doing this. And those weaker Huishan were naturally unwilling in their hearts, but they could not say it out loud because it would offend a group of people. So, in the end, they accepted this plan actively or passively. Then now, let's take action against Qingxuan sect, Brother Ning Dao proposed again. In order to prevent someone from escaping, why don't we all go together and fight quickly to avoid more trouble at night? Okay, smart people can hear the implication in his words, but they are worried that if only a few people are sent, they will reach an agreement privately and secretly hide a few demon entering yuanying. Because they don't know whether they will be chosen, it's better to go together and keep an eye on it in person. Then let's go. Everyone can't wait to rush to Qingxuan sect at this time. The Qingxuan sect had no idea that a disaster was about to happen. The mountain gate was peaceful and peaceful. There was no sign that this blessed land of immortals was filled with filth and had become the territory of demonic cultivators. About half a day later, the 16 ancestors of the Xuanfa Pavilion stood on the air, standing in the air, looking down at the Qingxuan sect below. Please set up a formation with my brother and seal off this area. 1/4 of an hour, a male cultivator with a stern face stood up and threw down a huge formation plate in his hand. He did not use the formation flag, and the empty formation pattern appeared out of thin air, extending outward continuously, and finally covered the huge Qingxuan sect mountain gate. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration appeared, and an extremely large formation suddenly formed. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Seeing that the sky had changed color, the disciples of the Qingxuan sect reacted and activated the warning instruments, shouting urgently. Where Zhuangjing and others from the Qingxuan sect, the sound of a god, like a huge bell, came from the sky and echoed continuously among the mountains. The head of the Qingxuan sect turned extremely pale, and he staggered towards the spiritual realm in the back mountain. He had already guessed the reason why these divine transformation cultivators suddenly came to his door. He was even more sad. Who could have thought that the Qingxuan sect, which had been passed down for thousands of years, would actually fall into a state of destruction? And it was not because of external enemies, but because of internal thieves. Masters, uncles, There are divine transformation cultivators coming to our door, and they ask you to leave by name." The head of the sect lowered his head, with a strong hatred in his eyes. If it weren't for them, how could the Kingsuan sect end up in such a situation? Unfortunately, he was just an ordinary nascent soul. He had been entangled in worldly affairs for many years, and his strength had declined too much. He couldn't stop it at the time, and in order to survive, he could only submit. Thinking of this, the head of the sect couldn't help but sneer at himself. Wasn't he also planted in the demon sect, so what qualifications did he have to blame others? What? How is this possible? How did they find out when we were so careful? The demons were horrified. The Kingsuan sect had been passed down for thousands of years, so they naturally knew how valuable the demon cultivators were. Those who had reached the state of transformation would never let them go. Thinking of this, many people lost all hope, and those with poor character simply collapsed on the ground. "You guys are not going to do anything yet. Are you planning to sit and wait for death?" There were also those who refused to accept their fate, and they shouted coldly, "Instead of sitting and waiting to die, it is better to fight to the death. Even if you fail, you will only die, but if you succeed, you may be able to avenge your hatred in the future." You are right. Since we are all going to die, why not kill our way out? The pain of resolving the secret method may not be described in words to give it a sense of substitution, but it is definitely more terrifying than death. Instead of being sacrificed, it is better to die directly. Many people were encouraged, and more than a dozen demon Yuanying rushed out of the spiritual realm. But as soon as they showed up, they were discovered by many gods in the air. Instantly, more than a dozen beams of light smashed down, and the fourth-level mountain protection formation of Kingsuan sect was like thin paper, and was directly pierced into pieces. Following closely, there was a golden spiritual light, which directly tied up these Yuanying who showed up. Various restrictions emerged in the spiritual light, binding their Danshan, sea of consciousness, physical body, etc. The gap between the gods and the Yuanying is so huge. Several Yuanyings have no power to fight back in front of a gods, not to mention that there are as many as 16 people present. 1, 2, 19 people. It seems that there are still a few people hiding in the spiritual realm. After counting the number of people, a certain god laughed softly, looking particularly relaxed and comfortable, and didn't take the remaining few people seriously at all. I don't know how many of those low-level cultivators have fallen into the path of evil. Their effects may not be as good, but if their numbers are large, they can make up for the gap. Well, we must count them carefully at that time. We must not miss a single evil cultivator, so as not to harm others. While a few people were chatting and laughing, they decided the lives of thousands and tens of thousands of cultivators. Chapter 698 Kindness. Kingsuan Sect's 76th head, Kingsuanzi, greets all the seniors. Just as the group of incarnations were preparing to enter the spirit realm and capture the remaining demonic nascent souls, a black shadow suddenly rushed out. The dignified nascent soul cultivator now prostrated himself and put down all his dignity. "I know that I have committed serious sins and violated the Xianmen code. I have no regrets even if I am cut into pieces. I just ask the seniors to let go of those disciples of Kingsuan sect who have not fallen into the devil's way." He choked and sobbed, saying, "I beg the seniors to show mercy. The 1,000-year heritage of Kingsuan cannot be destroyed in this moment." Bang bang bang. He used all his strength to hit the ground with his head, and the sound echoed between the clouds and sea on the mountaintop, and blood splattered all over the ground. Unfortunately, who among those who have cultivated to the incarnation realm is not a person with a strong heart of Taoism, and will not be easily shaken by the outside world? Even though Kingsuanzi's performance was extremely moving, no one spoke up to respond, and they were extremely indifferent. Haha, Kingsuanzi suddenly laughed foolishly and said dejectedly, "After all, I was just daydreaming. Nowadays, it is so rare to see a demon cultivator. How can they let one go? Whatever, this may be the fate of the Kingsuan sect." After saying that, he suddenly broke his heart and died in an instant. Go. Don't be soft-hearted. If they hadn't had a little compassion, would Kingsuanzi want to commit suicide? It would be impossible to succeed. Now that they have lost a demon Yuanying, they can't lose a second one. More than a dozen gods attacked together, and the Kingsuan sect had no power to fight back. They couldn't even struggle or ask for death. They could only be tied up and wait for death to come. In just a quarter of an hour, the Kingsuan sect, which was originally prosperous and lively, was now dead silent. The mountains with lush vegetation and vitality were only filled with the sound of the wind. "Brothers, How should these cultivators be dealt with? This person was referring to the low-level disciples. They are not possessed by demons now, but they were planted with a demon seed by their former teachers. If they don't get rid of it, there is a high probability that they will fall into the path of demons in the future. The reason why they feel difficult is that these monks are still monks now. If they kill them all, it will be a lot of karma. How could the group of incarnations who have been working tirelessly for ascension be willing to get involved in karma? But if they let these disciples go, when they break through to a higher realm in the future, who knows what horrifying things they will do? That's why they are so entangled. As long as they are disciples who have not changed to practice the magic method, let them go. Killing them will affect their own practice, and not killing them will harm others. Of course, they choose the latter. So after distinguishing them, they drove those disciples away. But even so, there are still thousands of monks who have been possessed by demons, including 21 Yuanying, which is not too many. It's time to go back, of course. Before that, they looted the Qingxuan sect, including the Qingxuan sect stabilizing technique Qingxuan Changsheng Daojing, as well as various rare spiritual objects. Back in the main hall of Xuanfa Pavilion, a heated debate started again. But this time, they had to be more orderly. People kept bidding, and finally a certain god of transformation paid a lot of money to get an extra demon entering nascent soul. This small auction took several hours to end. Everyone got what they wanted and seemed very happy. Brother Dao, who should be arranged to deliver the spiritual object selected by the Li family before, maybe it was because Brother Dao's method was unanimously agreed by everyone and his status was improved, so everyone would ask him first when they thought of a problem. Let a nascent soul disciple deliver it. These demon-entering monks can't hold on for long. It's better to deal with them as soon as possible. In order to get an extra demon-entering nascent soul, he took out all his wealth, but in the end he only got 2. Brother Daoning is now eager to use the secret method, and then practice in seclusion to improve his strength. How can he care about these trivial matters? By the way, have someone pay attention to the Li family to see if anyone is about to break through to the nascent soul stage. Otherwise, why would they choose Wu Yunqi? Investigating this matter is not that Xuanfa Pavilion intends to take action against the Li family, but they want to know the news of the other party to avoid future business dealings. When the Qingxuan sect was destroyed, the Qingxuan cultivators who were training in an unknown place suddenly felt empty in their hearts, as if they had lost something very important. The low-level disciples did not think so, thinking that they were too tired, but the high-level cultivators looked serious and looked in the direction of the Qingxuan sect. Li Zhirui, who had been in Banyan Island for a few days, finally received a reply from Xuanfa Pavilion. Have those spiritual objects arrived? Li Zhirui's words were full of excitement. Not to mention the sound transmission array purchased with Lingxi, the remaining 4 spiritual objects obtained for free are all extremely precious. Wu Yunqi is related to the cultivation of the nascent soul stage. The Lingying fruit tree can increase the probability of the tribe members breaking through the nascent soul stage. The dragon blood peach can strengthen the blood of the dragon beast and promote its evolution. The seemingly unpopular Rongxi grass is the spiritual object that Li Zhirui cares about the most. If his idea can really be realized, then his cultivation speed will be much faster than others. The most important thing is that he also has a better chance of impacting the refining void and thus transcending the tribulation and ascending. When he thought of this, he was very excited. Even if he didn't get the Rongxi grass, it didn't delay Li Zhirui from starting to deduce the pill formula. With 800,000 spiritual stones in his arms, he came to Xuanfa Pavilion again. This time, Li Zhirui was led by the shopkeeper into the largest and best private room, where a Yuanying cultivator was already waiting. Jin Fang has seen you, Li Zhirui returned the greeting. The shopkeeper stood aside and waited, and he could solve any problems in time. Still in the middle stage of the Yuanying? Then why did you choose Wu Yunqi? Is he confident that he can break through the bottleneck and achieve the state of transformation? Jin Fang had all kinds of speculations in his mind. But he remained calm on his face and completed the transaction with Li Zhirui. If you are worried, you can check these spiritual objects in detail. As he said that, he took out all 5 spiritual objects. Li Zhirui chuckled and said, the reputation of your Chamber of Commerce is worthy of the trust of the world. Without checking, he directly put the jade box containing the spiritual object into his pocket. Thank you for your hard work, Brother Jin. If there is nothing else, I will leave first, please. Jin Fang stood up and walked a few steps to see him off. After Li Zhirui left the room, he stopped and turned around to ask, Do you think he's really only in the middle stage of the nascent soul? The shopkeeper smiled bitterly and said, Senior, you think too highly of me. How can I tell his strength? Forget it, I have completed the task. It was not his turn to worry about what happened next, so why waste his energy on this? Chapter 699 Give up. Have you heard? The Kingsuan sect was destroyed. What? How is this possible? How could it be destroyed so quietly? It was a sect that had been passed down for thousands of years and had once produced a great ancestor who had reached the state of transformation. It's true. Kingsuan Mountain has been occupied by a group of independent cultivators. The original Kingsuan disciples have all become independent cultivators, and those vassal forces are also ready to make a move. The destruction of the Kingsuan sect caused a huge reaction in the surrounding areas. When everyone heard about it for the first time, they were shocked and couldn't believe it. Then came great fear. The fact that they could destroy the Kingsuan sect so quietly showed how powerful they were. If they were attacked, would they still have a way to survive? Do you know what happened? I heard that many monks in Kingsuan sect fell into the devil's way, which attracted the attention of Xuanfa Pavilion. Then they killed all the monks who fell into the devil's way, and the huge sect collapsed. It's not that there are no monks who have fallen into the devil's way. Why didn't Xuanfa Pavilion take action? How could these low-level monks know that monks who have fallen into the devil's way can be used as sacrifices to resolve cause and effect and karma? Not taking action against those low-level monks. First, the effect of resolving the calamity is not very good. It is not worth making a big fuss. Second, it is deliberately indulgent, waiting for them to grow up. Alice. It's a pity that such a huge sect collapsed and ruined in a day. Some people felt sad about it, but some people saw an opportunity in it. They gathered a group of monks with the same idea and rushed to Kingsuan Mountain to see if they could get some spiritual objects. The Li family of Banyan Island was also discussing this matter. Ancestor, I heard that the Kingsuan sect's Sutra library has not been destroyed yet, and the family plans to send some clansmen to collect various methods. Li Wenli has discussed this matter with the elders, and everyone agrees. The reason why he came to report to Li Zhirui is, first, to listen to his opinions, and second, to hope that he can give some support, such as letting Zhaoqing follow. After all, there are several unifying forces among the vassals of the Kingsuan sect. If they miss this opportunity and do not have the same strength to support them, the Li family will not be able to get many good methods. As for why they don't expect Li Zhirui to lead the team, because when he came back 2 days ago and handed over the leafless cloud key, the Lingying fruit tree, the dragon blood treasure peach and the sound transmission notary to the family, he said that he had a very important thing to do. In this case, who dares to disturb him? Go ask Daking, Zhaoqing and Fengpeng to see who is willing to go. If none of them are willing, let Zhaoqing go and I will talk to him, Li Zhirui said impatiently. If there is anything in the future, discuss it with the elders. If you encounter something that cannot be solved, go to Daking and others. Unless it is a critical moment, don't come to me again. Yes, Li Wenli hurriedly bowed his head and responded, and immediately got up and left. He was very curious about what this ancestor was going to do. He actually planned to completely ignore family affairs. Could it be that he found an opportunity to break through the god transformation? Otherwise, it would not explain his current situation. If this is the case, Li Wenli's eyes showed a trace of longing. Li Zhirui returned to the quiet room, sat cross-legged on the futon, and continued to deduce the elixir formula he had conceived. This was the most difficult elixir formula he had encountered since he practiced alchemy, because he was only in the nascent soul realm now, but was creating a precious elixir for the god transformation realm, and he had no idea where to start. After a year of hard thinking, Li Zhirui suddenly realized that this was not something he could create now. He might be called a genius, but he was definitely not the proud son of heaven who would be famous for thousands of years. Alice. I have the will but not the strength. This recipe can only be put aside for the time being. Li Zhirui looked at the jade slip in his hand, which only recorded the final effect in a few words, and sighed heavily. Perhaps only after he breaks through the spirit transformation can this recipe be realized. Now he can only give up and should not waste time on this matter. When he decided to give up perfecting the recipe for the time being, Li Zhirui's state of mind actually improved a little. It seems that I made the right decision. Although he said so, he still couldn't hide the bitterness in his expression. Speaking of which, Zhaoqing, who was already impatient to stay on Banyan Island, heard that he could go out and there might even be a fight with Yuanying cultivators, So he couldn't wait to agree, and even wanted to persuade Daking to go with him. You stay in the family every day, and you don't see the vast sky. You are inevitably depressed and thoughtful. Why don't you come with me and relax your mind? Although Daking's condition seems to be much better than before, Zhaoking is still worried. Don't worry about me. Daking smiled and shook his head, saying, you can go by yourself. Brother Jiu and sister Jiu are in seclusion, and the family also needs me to take charge. Isn't Feng still here? Seeing his firm face, Zhaoking knew that she couldn't persuade him, so she had to leave helplessly. Because of me, everyone has been worried for many years. It's really not right. Daking smiled bitterly and said to himself. Especially Li Zhirui's cultivation has a lot to do with him. If it is because of him that Li Zhirui cannot break through, then he is really to blame. After so many years, as the young turtles grow up healthily, the trauma caused by what Mulinger did at the beginning has been gradually healed. Besides, he is not a heartless person. How can he not see what Li Zhirui and Zhaoking have done for him over the years? After going through the ordeal, Daking's temperament became more calm and steady. If he was just a big lake before, now he is a deep pool. Unable to persuade Daking, Zhaoking had to pull Fengpeng and take a group of Li family members to Qingxuan Mountain. When they arrived, a round of war had already broken out at the scene, but no one could do anything to anyone, and the scene fell into a stalemate again. As soon as the Li family arrived, they attracted everyone's attention. Why do you have to fight and kill, and fight to the death for a few jade slips? The methods in the Sutra library are not impossible to reproduce, Zhaoking said with a smile. Your Excellency's words sound good. But in this case, those precious methods will lose their value, someone sneered. They naturally saw that Zhaoking was a spirit beast, and the spirit ship was hung with the Li family's family emblem, so they used Your Excellency instead of Dao, let alone monster. That's true, but no one can do anything to anyone else. If we keep fighting like this, more and more cultivators will come, and a war might break out, Zhaoqing said calmly. If a war breaks out, there will definitely be cultivators who will die. Do you want to risk your lives for a few jade slips that you got for free? After saying this, everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. Feng Peng, who was standing aside, had a look of surprise in his eyes. She had never seen Zhaoqing like this before, and she was totally different from what she remembered. Chapter 700 Private Collection. I wonder what your opinion is, someone asked. Zhaoqing shook his head modestly and said, I don't dare to take credit for it. I'll just say it for the time being, and you guys just listen. Everyone, work together. First break the formation of the Sutra library, then each send one person in, find the jade slip with a list, and publish it. If you have the method you want, you can find it by following the map, and then copy it. That is to say, the group of gods in the Xuanfa pavilion looked down on the Qingxuan sect's method. Otherwise, how could it have survived until now? It is said that there were gods in the Qingxuan sect, but in the past 1,000 years, only 2 people appeared, and they never broke through the middle stage of the gods in their entire lives. They might just be 2 lucky people. How could the method possessed by such a sect attract the attention of the group of gods? But who comes first and who comes later? Someone questioned. Of course, it's first come first served. If someone takes action in the Sutra library, the nearby monks have the obligation to expel them, Zhaoqing replied with a smile. That's a good idea. After a moment of silence, someone suddenly shouted in response. If you look closely, you will find that the first group of nascent souls who agreed to it are relatively weak. If they follow the previous rules, they may not get any good methods with their strength, but now they can also get those rare and precious inheritances. Compared with the 2, there is no need to hesitate. The general trend is irresistible. Even if some nascent souls are not satisfied, they cannot stand up and oppose. After deciding on the plan, more than a dozen nascent soul cultivators on the scene temporarily put aside their grievances and discussed how to break the formation. In order to protect the methods from being leaked, the formations of the Sutra library usually have self-destruction mechanisms, and the Qingxuan sect is no exception. Fortunately, there are 2 or 3 formation masters among the cultivators. It is naturally not a problem to work together to break a dead formation without anyone in charge. In less than an hour, the formation was quietly broken. Each force sent a Jinden in, and soon brought out the list jade slip, and then cast a spell to announce it so that all cultivators can see it. After you enter the Sutra library, you should first copy the skills and methods, followed by magical powers, secrets, and secret methods, And finally the skills. Remember, Zhaoqing transmitted the message to the dozen Li family cultivators behind him. The Li family's skills, the Wanling Sutra, can be cultivated to the 6th level of the refining void realm, which has exceeded the upper limit of this realm. Unless it is a 6th level skill, or a higher 7th level skill, there is no need to get it. However, the Qingxuan sect does not have 6th and 7th level skills. It is the skills, magical powers, secret methods, etc., because the Li family seems to have been passed down for thousands of years, but it has not really risen for less than 300 years. For a cultivation force, it is extremely short, but it is only half the life of a giant cultivator. So it is a very normal thing to lack the foundation. Now there is a chance to increase the foundation. How can it be missed? Unfortunately, although places like warehouses and spiritual fields are also protected by formations, they are targeted by the gods of the Xuanfa Pavilion. Although they only took away some rare and valuable spiritual objects, the formation was destroyed. The original disciples and nearby casual cultivators wanted to dig 3 feet into the ground. How could there be any spiritual objects left now? Yes, let's do it. Seeing that there were already cultivators entering the Sutra library, Zhaoqing led everyone to rush in. He and Fengpeng rushed directly to the top floor, intending to take a look at the most precious method of Qingxuan sect first. The room was not big, with only 8 jade pillars placed inside, each with a jade slip placed on it. Before they could check, several Yuanying cultivators were about to rush in. For a moment, they didn't care about so much, and directly picked up the jade slip closest to them and flipped through it. The jade slip that Zhaoqing was looking at recorded a very powerful magical power called Hushinfa. According to the description, when practicing to a high level, one can open up a small world similar to the spiritual realm in a container, such as a spirit pot. He didn't even look at its contents carefully. While no one was paying attention, he quietly replaced the jade slip in his hand with a method he brought out from the Li family, a scroll of incomplete skills that can be practiced to the spirit transformation realm. It is said to be incomplete because it lacks the 3 basic realms of key training, foundation building, and golden elixir. It only has the 2 realms of nascent soul and transformation of the spirit. It is like a castle in the air. It looks beautiful, but in fact, a little movement can make it collapse. But for the forces that lack high-level exercises, it is indeed worthy of attention. After pretending to copy the exercises, Zhaoqing went to wait for others, but it took him half a day to finish 8 jade slips. If it weren't for a Fengpeng's help, it would probably take a day to finish. During this period, Zhaoqing wanted to do it several times, but thinking of Li Zhirui's repeated instructions before leaving, he finally waited obediently. A few days later, on the Li family's spirit ship, the cultivators who were originally energetic and high-spirited now looked pale and their steps were weak, as if they were squeezed dry. In fact, they were indeed squeezed dry. In just a few days, they copied tens of thousands of jade slips in total, and each person had to copy hundreds of them on average. You know, reproducing jade slips is very exhausting, especially those complex and mysterious methods, which are extremely exhausting. They are now not interested in anything in the world, and just want to sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. Compared with other forces, the Li family cultivators are still good. At least most of them are dealing with various skills. Although many of them are incomprehensible, at least they are easier to understand than the exercises. Thank you for your hard work. Everyone go back to the room and rest. It won't be long before we can return to Banyan Island. Compared with those giant and foundation building clansmen, Zhaoqing and Fengpeng are in better condition, so the 2 of them are at the helm of the returning spirit ship. When did you become so smart? Fengpeng looked Zhaoqing up and down, as if he had never known him before, and he didn't look like someone who would say such a thing. Zhaoqing curled her lips and said, "This is what Brother Jiu asked me to say before I left. Otherwise, with my personality, I would never discuss it with him. I would just grab the method first. It seems that you are quite good at pretending. Even I was fooled by you." "Have you fooled me before?" Zhaoqing did not respond, but said, "You know what, Brother Jiu's method is really good. I got so many methods so smoothly, and I also secretly hide a magical power that looks very powerful. Other cultivators must have the idea and action of hiding the jade slips. After all, like Zhaoqing, when they encounter some mysterious methods, they will not want to share them with other forces." "Huh?" Fengpeng snorted coldly and ignored him. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.